Guys, you don't need to choose between price and quality to get an amazing and affordable shave. DollarShaveClub.com's the answer. To prove how amazing their shave really is, right now they're going to give you your first month free to join the club. DollarShaveClub.com delivers amazing razors right to Tim Gettys' door. That's right. GameOverGreggy's own Tim Gettys. For a third of the price of what them greedy razor corporations charge. Join the club like Tim did and stop dealing with drugstore hassles and the battle of the locked up razor fortress ever again. Because that's annoying, you know, Kev. When you go there and you got like a page of the guy and he comes over and he acts like he's doing you a favor. It's like, just let me do this. See why over 3 million members like Tim love Dollar Shave Club. They're so confident in all the quality of all of their products. Now you can get your first month of the club for free. Just pay for shipping. After that, it's a few bucks a month. No long-term commitment, no hidden fees. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. And you can have a smooth neck, just like Tim Gettys. This episode of the Game Over Greggy Show is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code KINDAFUNNY to get 10% off your first purchase. Now, there used to be taglines here, but they keep changing them. We'll say Squarespace. Set your website apart. The Kevin Coelho story. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside my favorite Irishman in the business.
Hurrah! That's me, right?
That's you, yeah.
Could have been him. It's close.
No, it's not. You know, you've got the accent. You're like a little Lucky Charms guy.
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah,
he's doing it. I'll just leave myself out.
Hey, Danny.
How you doing?
Great. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me again.
We figure since we traded Nick to London, we should take someone also from London yourself and bring you here.
I hope he's having a great time. It's a great city.
Yeah, he's doing a meet and greet right now over there.
My hometown.
Yeah, hometown of London. You're bumming around Diagon Alley, having a great time.
I did live there for like 4.5 years, so I feel like it's not my hometown, but yeah, a little bit. Like a greasy part.
There's a little piece of London inside of you.
Wow, greasy.
Man.
Are they
There's
greasy?
a lot of fried chicken in London. Yeah.
Is it good fried chicken?
Yeah.
Who has better fried chicken, America or London?
Oh, it's such a different type of fried chicken.
Is there like tempura? Like
no. It's like if you want to spend £3 and get some greasy ass fried chicken, then go to London.
Okay.
And eat it all day and have a terrible diet, but it's fucking delicious.
Sure.
Also, they have Nando's if you're a little bit
cheeky.
Middle class.
Yeah.
You know what I
Nick
mean?
just had it for the first time. I'm excited to hear.
Did he, or did he just take a photo outside of
That's
it? Pure
my
one,
thing.
Tim Gettys.
I'm like, I can't trust him.
Because he didn't take any photos from the inside, so I assure you he just walked by and took a photo.
I was telling Colin this. I love that now that Nick's like on vacation for the first time ever. This is the first time he's actually like, I should probably use social media.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is Nick proving to the world that he just doesn't want to leave us. He just can't leave it behind.
No.
He's out there gallivanting across the world.
The crazy thing is you said that to me yesterday. This was the pre-Nick announcing his own meet and greet
Who
at
has
a bar.
seen that
I
coming?
woke up on Instagram and I'm like, what?
He made his own image for it?
He put effort in that image.
He's bored. Just admit it. You're
Zyger or
fucking
Amy
bored.
Gilroy were pulling strings back
You
there.
think?
Tom Hawkins. There's no way Nick sat down and made that. He didn't
You
make
think?
that image. Yeah.
It's really well done.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like there was craft.
That's why
put into
you know
that.
Nick didn't do it.
Nick's pretty crafty with
I know, but not on the
Photoshops.
fly over there. You think so? Let me run. I'm running this scenario with you, Tim Gettys.
Yeah.
You think that over there they're on vacation and they're at Starbucks because that's all they do. You think Dee's letting him break out the laptop to make a PDS image?
You think Dee's letting him do anything? No. She doesn't even know he's there. She's doing her own thing. Nick's just out. Nick's just lost. Gallivanting. I was saying it, man.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm equally, on the field there between, was it Tom Hawkins or Nick? It definitely could have been Nick. The moment he had the idea to do a meet and greet, he would want to do it right.
Yeah.
So I believe he would do that.
I don't know, man. There's a
I
lot
can't
of
believe
good
he's doing a
imagery
meet and
going
greet.
on. Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Very weird. Very
He's
weird.
getting back.
Very weird.
He's over there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is there like a subset of Kind of Funny fans that are just like purely in it for Nick?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
Like
sure, of
just
course, yeah.
producer, seducer, fanboys and fangirls who
What I enjoyed-
don't care about you guys at all.
A few weeks ago on Colin Moriarty Live with the Pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty, Colin made a joke about being the funniest kind of funny member.
Okay.
And then we kind of had this pseudo debate about it. And then when the chat caught up, everybody's like, Nick.
Yeah, everyone loves Nick. Nick's the only one that doesn't really. Nick gets the thing. Way I look at it is Nick doesn't get a lot of praise per se. He does, but also not a lot of hate. People
Nick gets
just
the pass.
Nick gets
On
Nick's
everything.
Yeah, Nick is just kind of going through the motions or whatever, and people really enjoy Nick. So.
He's like the Joey of your group. It's like nobody really hates Joey.
Sure.
They're just like, they're either hot on Joey
That's
or
real
they're
true.
like, cool, you know?
That's real true.
You're Ross.
I'll take it. I get to bang Jennifer Aniston.
Can I be Fat Monica?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Okay. Fat Monica's like so much more likable than not Fat Monica, though.
What? Yeah, I guess
Like,
that's true.
like busted nose Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Rachel is better than like modern day Rachel.
I don't know about that. You're not. No, we're split.
Colin?
Colin is ugly naked guy across the street.
Why am I ugly?
No, I'm just saying in terms of the show. You're not ugly. You're very handsome.
I know I am.
You're very handsome.
I know.
But it's one of those like they don't see you a lot, but when you're in an episode, you make the episode.
Oh, you're like the janitor who like danced with Joey that one time.
Oh yeah, that's an old. That's
I'm
a
a hard-
deep cut.
I'm a
You really
hard-
like
You guys
Friends,
are
huh?
getting into this.
I'm a
I like
hard-working
Friends.
blue-collar man.
This is something I only realized since I moved here is that like Friends was like insanely popular in Ireland and the UK. Like everyone watched it. But then when I moved here, I was hearing off people that like kind of more girls watched Friends.
Yeah,
and, like
Friend-
more
I think it
guys
was more
watched
of a
Seinfeld or
generational
something.
thing.
Well, it was
Oh, right, really?
Friends was on after Seinfeld, so it kind of garnered that Thursday night. Thursday night in the United States in the 90s was a big
Must-see
night for
TV.
television. Must-see TV. It was
Yeah.
And Seinfeld was on at 9, and that was the anchor on NBC, and then Friends was on after it, and that's how Friends kind of led in 95 or whatever. Not that you were looking for a history lesson.
No,
on
it was
Friends.
good. I liked it. I can tell you about Europe. It's like Sky One for the UK and Ireland was like 5 o'clock. It was like either Friends, probably an episode of Friends. It just did rerun. You know,
That was
it was like
it.
a million.
Just Friends.
Kinda, yeah, like every day. And then
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock, it was like one of the Star Treks. So like you kind of got your like pick and mix. It was
For
either
us, it was Simpsons and Star
DS9
Trek.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Simpsons. Sorry, Simpsons is actually
Yes.
Simpsons was at 6. You're right.
Yeah.
So maybe DS9 was on a 4. I forget. I probably just ran home from school early.
I just remember I didn't like Friends very much. I mean, it's fine, but the I don't hate it. I don't have anything against it. It's just wasn't a show that I really enjoyed very much. But I remember in college going around in people's apartments, and that 1 into 10 or whatever, you'd see the picture frame around the
really?
and I'd be like, no.
If you didn't know, this is the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you get every episode early, along with a bunch of exclusive perks, goodies, and other things, and support other people. Like Danny O'Dwyer over there at patreon.com/Danny O'Dwyer. If you have no bucks to toss us on Patreon, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show topic by topic, day by day, until we post it as one big fucking video. Yeah. Enough with the camera cuts, Kevin. Just let me focus on what. Oh, I hate you. It goes up on MP3 services as well. Colin, what's your topic?
The debate. So yesterday,
The debate.
from when we were recording this, not for the people listening to it, the moment we've all been waiting for.
With bated
Round
breath.
1 of 3 of Trump versus Clinton took place at Hofstra, Long Island, New York. Have some statistics. Most watched most watched debate of all time. 83.7 million people watched it on TV. That doesn't include people who watched it online. So the numbers are probably astronomical.
Yeah.
Probably
the YouTube stream
250.
crossed 10 million.
Damn.
Oh my, really?
Yeah, you have to assume around the world. I'm saying, and like I was watching the PBS stream that had like 500,000 people in it. So you have to assume we're looking at maybe 200 million people around the world watching it. It beat Obama, Romney, number 1.
Their love child.
Yeah, Obama.
They merged to take on this.
67.2 million was the television audience for Obama Romney, and the most watched was the only debate between Carter and Reagan in 1980, which was 80 million. So just
Damn
for
right.
just a little bit of perspective, and Reagan may be a similar kind of person to Trump in some ways, actually. Although I don't think he's anywhere near being Ronald Reagan. I like Ronald Reagan. So I have a bunch of notes, and I'll tell you guys what I think. But I'm curious what you guys thought of the debate. I asked yesterday if you guys were going to watch it. You did.
Yep.
So what were your takeaways? What did you think?
I mean, I think especially it being a day after, a lot of people have put their opinions out there and all their thoughts, and I understand that a lot of the people I follow are from a very specific mindset. So it's like there's definitely like kind of a fervor in one direction. Having said that, that direction is something that I think is correct when it comes down to talking about the debate, the question of who won. I think you need to look at that and really ask, what does that mean? What does winning the debate mean? Because does winning the debate mean getting people that weren't going to vote for you, or does it just mean beating your opponent? If it's beating your opponent, I think that Hillary absolutely destroyed Trump. I don't even think there's a question of who won. And it's not even so much about her winning as much as it's he lost in terms of debating. Questions were asked. She answered them. He didn't. He just went in circles and said a lot of words that didn't really get anywhere. And I think that in terms of tact, she came off as professional. He came off as blubbering and spiteful. And I think that she was absolutely prepared. Seemed like he wasn't prepared at all. And every single thing that she said, it's whether or not you agree with it, it's like, all right, at least it's a full statement. He wouldn't go a full sentence without talking about some business he owns or something that is frankly irrelevant to the conversation. And I feel like they'd ask questions and he just simply wouldn't answer. He did not play by the rules of the debate, and he would just keep talking, keep ignoring everybody, speak over her, whatever. She waited her turn and it would say things. And it was just like, going back to who won the debate, if the game is the debate, I think that he absolutely lost because he didn't even play by the rules of it.
Sure. I agree. I mean, I agree with that for the most part. In terms, I don't understand who wins or loses a debate and how you judge that or whatever. I'm with you in the fact that like what last night, we talked about this before on the show, right? And how the election coming up and what do you do? And I was like, I'm going to vote for Clinton, right? And I'm voting against Trump is what I'm doing. Last night reminded me of like, oh yeah, I like Hillary Clinton. Like, I don't really have a problem with her. Like, I mean, I haven't seen her talk or debate or do any of this because I'm not really, I'm paying attention. I'm reading here, a headline here.
You didn't watch any of the Sanders Clinton debates?
Yeah, well, no, I watched when he didn't quit that one time with you. I remember being a big deal. Yeah, so for me, it was a reintroduction to her and what her speaking style is. And to your point, like, she was the adult. She was the only one up there acting like what I expect a president to act like. Trump was acting like Trump, and I'm not knocking how Trump acts necessarily, but he doesn't act like the president to me, and he was interjecting, and he was interrupting, and he was still cracking wise about Rosie O'Donnell, and it's just like,
yeah.
All right, whatever. I was impressed enough last night with Hillary Clinton of like, okay, you're being presidential, and she's doing what I was talking about, right? You've heard me tell stories, right? In my recent life or whatever, of like, okay, cool. I'll be Superman. I'll stand here and I will let you just tire yourself out. Go ahead and punch me. Like, it's not hurting me. It's just, it's annoying me, but I'm not going to swing back. I'm not going to do anything. And that's what she did. She sat there and nodded and let him have his moment to rant and rave and do whatever. And then she would answer and he would interrupt. And this is what's going. It's like, she impressed me enough that today I donated money to her, right? I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm in. Like, this is, I was in before because I wanted him not to be the president. But now I'm in enough of like, all right, cool. You can be the president. Let's do this. Let's just go.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best move she made was like right off the top, just being like, hey, go to my page, my Twitter, if there's a fact checker. And it's like, from that point on, it was just kind of like, all right, she could just stand there and just take the hits.
Yeah.
Because the people that are going to find out the truth are going to find it out. And the people that aren't are the ones that aren't looking anyways. And they've already made their minds. You know? And I think that it's what has been really interesting to me is the lesser of two evils conversation that keeps coming up. And it's just like, when you hear it enough, you just start to believe it.
Yeah.
And it's just like seeing this stuff, it's like, man, we're really saying she's evil.
Right.
There's some things he's saying that I'm like, I can understand that. It's a little far to call anybody evil. But if we're going to call someone evil, I think Donald Trump qualifies in that conversation. In a way that Hillary, I mean, she's a politician. Has she done a lot of shady shit? Yeah. There's no politician in history, and there will never be a politician in the future that hasn't done a lot of shady shit. Everybody does shady shit. And it's like, if she's going to represent us, I understand that she needs to be held to a higher standard. But I think that so much of the shit she's facing is because she is a woman, period.
And then, there's baggage of Bill Clinton too.
There's there's so much, but it's like, I think that so much more is being like against the whole her being evil thing. I don't think we would hear if it was any other person.
Just a male Democrat.
Just to jump in before, because I want to hear what Danny has to say. I think you're taking the lesser two evils thing too literally. The lesser two evils is an old term. It doesn't necessarily mean the people are evil. It just means like you don't want either of these things. Which one is not as bad as the other? So when you say about it like that, I think that's a reasonable argument to make. I don't think Trump's evil, and I don't think Clinton's evil either. But I don't like Clinton at all.
But I am talking about people that are straight up writing articles talking about how evil Hillary is.
Some of the rhetoric coming out of the Trump camp specifically has been getting into that area, right? Yeah.
And like talking about like how much of a liar she is and this and that, and it's just like, I'm sorry, but like when you look at it, like the lying conversation is irrelevant when the person arguing it is literally just saying things that aren't true, and all his argument is wrong, over and over. And it's like, meanwhile, there's a fact checker proving that he's wrong about what he's saying. Consistently.
Which worked really well for him getting him into this position. Like, I think that's the most fascinating. Like, you can say anything about Donald Trump, is that he's gotten this far by deciding not to play the game, like the modern day politics game. He's completely done his own thing, and in the way that modern politics, perhaps like it always has been, there's been an element of it being just a popularity contest. Like this one especially that's how he managed to push his way past every other Republican candidate. The problem was that when we get into the debates, it's no longer just you using your rhetoric or using your confidence or your camera presence as a way of like selling yourself to people. Once you're in that situation and people are like asking questions about policy, it's really a debate that shows that the office of President of the United States of America is a job that has a specific like role to it. You can't mold it to your own doing. He won't be able to, bullshit his way through foreign policy or through trade deals or through, union deals or through party issues or anything to do with Congress in the way that he does in business. Like it doesn't work the same way. You can't just strong arm people that way. If you could, I'm sure presidents will be able to have a lot more power than they have. You know what I mean? You often see presidents go in 4 years saying, I'm going to do all these things. And then when they come out the other side, they're like, oh, look, I did as much as I could, but it's really difficult and blah, 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 blah. His whole thing is based on having absolute power. And then when he's put in that situation and they're asking him to talk policy, he doesn't have the experience to back it up. He doesn't seem to have the perspective of what it even means. Or if he does, he's intentionally just trying to, make him grandize again to make himself look like he's powerful enough to just make it work. And when you contrast that with somebody who's worked within the government for as long as Hillary Clinton has, who's very pragmatic about these types of things, regardless if you agree or disagree with what she's saying, at least she has sense. Like she knows what the job is. And I mean, my hope is that people on the fence can at least see, okay, one of these candidates is a possible president. The other one is a fucking charlatan. Like it's ridiculous that a country as powerful and progressive and, basically the sort of the front of the Western world's fist is even allowing this idiot to have a platform. Like it's ridiculous. And my hope is that last night showed that at least both these people are interesting and both these people have a lot of backing behind them, but only one of them is a president. The other one's a reality TV star and maybe a businessman. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Seems like he's probably not very good at that either.
Yeah, I mean, going back to it, I think that it was a different game at the Republican debates and all that, because I think that that was a game of getting attention. That was a game of standing out. And I think that now it's at the point when you've already stood out. There's only two, all eyes are on both people, and it's kind of impossible to be the clear winner one way or the other. I think that he's not playing this game correctly. And I think that, like, even last night, even to be somebody that is going to say this ridiculous shit, I don't think that he said anything ridiculous enough to make him stand out. There was no, like, punch, It felt like it was very defensive from somebody that I think if he was going to try to win for his platform, he needs to be offensive. And that's a horrible thing to say because I don't agree with that mentality. But I think that that's why I believe that he lost.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, my take on it, this is from a political science standpoint, this is really tough. And this whole cycle has been very weird from that perspective. I don't think that Trump is a natural fit to be a politician. And I think you saw that throughout the primaries, yet it didn't matter. It's important to note that I don't think anyone thought he won any of the debates during the Republican primaries. And in fact, a lot of people thought that he lost in every primary. He went up anyway. So it's an impossible thing to prognosticate about because he doesn't play by the rules. He doesn't play by the rules at all. That's what's so intriguing about him. That's what, I'm not going to vote for him. I don't like Donald Trump as a politician. I like him as an entertainer quite a lot, but I'm voting for Gary Johnson, so I want to be very clear about that. And it sounds like we have Clinton supporters otherwise, which is great.
I can't vote.
You can't vote, but you would vote for Clinton, I assume.
I would vote for Clinton. I would have been a Sanders because that's the way I live.
Right.
But I would vote for Clinton as an anti-Trump vote. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have 3 Clintons. So I want to be clear about that. 3 Clintons and a Gary Johnson voter here, so we can at least put our cards on the table and none of us are, who we are supporting or whatever. I think it's more complicated. I think my personal take is that I think Trump clearly won the first half an hour of the debate. When I was watching it, I was actually kind of shocked, and I tweeted about it. I was like, "This is weird." And why it's weird is because they started with domestic policy. It was a 3-wave debate, and they started with domestic policy, or at least that's where it wanted to be grounded in the economy, and that's where he's strongest. And that's where I think actually he's way stronger than Hillary Clinton. Not necessarily because I agree with everything he says, but because he's speaking to a very specific group of people, blue collar, middle class, or working class people in very specific states who are going to vote for him based on his populist rhetoric in terms of jobs. He's playing a more dynamic political game on the map than I think people are giving him credit for. It does not matter what people in California think about what he says. It doesn't matter what people in his home state of New York think about what he says. It matters what people in Indiana think. It matters what people in Ohio and Michigan think. And when they hear something, when a guy that worked at a car factory for 25 years, as I've said many times, when they hear and they're like this, and he's basically saying like NAFTA destroyed your jobs, free trade destroyed your jobs, which it did. And in my opinion, I mean, I don't see how you can see it any other way. And I'm going to stop this from happening. So you, a low skilled worker or a worker who's 40 years old who has to support his family, I'm going to get your job back. Everyone else tunes out and they're like, fine, you're my guy. That's all they need to hear. And he's playing that game. It's a very dynamic game in the Rust Belt specifically in states he has to win, because if he doesn't pick up Pennsylvania, he doesn't pick up Ohio, he's going to lose. So it doesn't matter. Like, people are like getting way too caught up in the weeds about a lot of different things when I'm like, the die is cast in 85% of the states. It doesn't matter what he says. There are a few states on the Eastern Seaboard that are in play, and there are a few states in the Midwest, and those are going to win the election. Colorado, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, even Iowa, and then Virginia and North Carolina, maybe Georgia, although Georgia's going back towards Trump. So I feel like that needs to be said. I think that after the half an hour point, Clinton turned it on. Clinton's strength is her wonkishness. And people were curious about what I was saying about this. A wonk is in politics is someone who's obsessed with policy and the minute detail of legislation. And that's what she is. When she I'll never forget the Sanders debates, because I think Bernie Sanders is a smart guy, but Bernie Sanders is incredibly outclassed by Hillary Clinton in terms of the dynamics of legislation, which is surprising considering how long he's been a legislator, which is longer than Hillary Clinton. So I think once she started to like turn the boat, which in the debate takes time because debates are all about timing and cadence, she clearly started to win. And so I think that ultimately, I don't think Trump did nearly as bad as people that are saying. Like, I don't think that that's true at all. Like, I think I've seen way worse debate performances than Donald Trump's. Howard Feynman wrote a piece about how it was the worst performance he'd ever seen. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's just insane.
There's a hunger for it to be the worst.
Yeah,
and that's the problem,
yeah.
is that there's so much hyperbole loaded into this. This is what you said today on Colin Moriarty Live. They got the chat riled up when you were like, Trump won the first 30 minutes, and I don't see how you couldn't see that, right? Or I don't see how you couldn't agree with that. Everybody's like, disagree, right? For me, it was the same way in the fact of like, I didn't hear him say anything. What you're saying here makes sense, right? Because NAFTA is going to appeal to the people in the Rust Belt if you've been laid off and all that stuff. All I heard him was calling out NAFTA for what her husband had done to NAFTA or whatever, which I was like, well, this is irrelevant to this debate. What does she feel about NAFTA? Where are we with that? But he didn't make that argument to me. Instead, he put NAFTA on her shoulders, right? But that didn't matter to me. But to somebody who got their job, I totally understand. It's all perspective on where this is, right?
Exactly. They're not even speaking to anyone at this table. We're all in a state that's going to vote for Hillary Clinton, probably plus 20. And so like he doesn't care about that. Now, he's in a weird place. I talked about Kellyanne Conway on Colin and Greg Live today, who's the person who's running his campaign the last 2 months. She's a veteran pollster who was actually a Democrat, and she's super fucking smart and really, really well respected in a lot of circles. If you guys watch The Circus on Showtime, which is a fantastic show, you'll see her on there, and they talk about her before she was ever involved with Trump. And she's clearly injecting political science into Trump's campaign. I think it's probably too late. I think he's probably going to lose, but you can tell that he's caught between a rock and a hard place now, because the Clinton thing with NAFTA is really interesting. If you just talked about NAFTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement, which has been actually really disastrous for American industry, which was signed in the early 90s, and has really kind of... Ross Perot said you'll hear the sucking sound of jobs leaving the United States.
This is manufacturers going to where they can get cheaper labor.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. If I was a manufacturer, I wouldn't fucking manufacture shit in the United States. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I'd be like, I'm out. I'll go to Mexico. I'll go to China. And
what's different between that and what's happened in like other, non-American Western countries where this, like, same thing happened in Ireland. Like, we had manufacturing base which got sucked out because Eastern European it was so much more cheaper. So, and like obviously China's taking that out.
Ireland's a very attractive place right now for businesses because of the low taxation. That has everything to do with it. We have, and people like to dispute this, and I have no idea why, because it's a fact. We have the highest in the first world corporate tax rate in the United States, or in the world. Like, and it's totally unacceptable. No wonder. If I owned, everyone's like Burger King left and went to Canada. I'm like, why wouldn't you infer it? Why wouldn't you get out of here? They have a fiduciary obligation to their stockholders. Like, I would be out too. I don't begrudge them that. And I own a small business. It's it's not a talking point for us. We saw how badly we were taxed. We were taxed to oblivion.
Right.
You know, like
I was running the numbers last week. California specifically, the corporation tax is pretty.
Yeah, it's
pretty
rough.
tasty, yeah.
People blame it on California, but a lot of it is the onerous federal government doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing I'm saying about Kellyanne Conway that I think is interesting with Trump is that the NAFTA thing is an interesting thing. Clinton was very popular. Bill Clinton was very popular for a long time. Bill Clinton's not really very popular anymore, and you can tell that she's a numbers-based poli-sci person. She's being like, tie NAFTA, unpopular Bill Clinton, tether those to Hillary Clinton. And so you can see like the machinery working in his head. It's just that he can't work like that. So by a half an hour into the debate, what I saw was him unraveling because he also has very thin skin. He can't, shockingly thin skin. And I can't begrudge Hillary Clinton for starting laying body blows on him because she did just that. So by the end, she had all the momentum and she was winning. If it wasn't for the beginning, first half an hour or so of the populist rhetoric and the kind of starting with what Trump's strong suit is, which is domestic economy, I think that she probably would have been the clear winner. I think that it was basically a draw. I think that you could probably give the advantage to Hillary Clinton. I think that a draw is good for Trump, though. And something I saw... Michael Moore, who's the documentarian, very far left person, said this on Twitter, and I thought this was the most telling thing amongst a cacophony of just very kind of echo chamberish kind of chatter about everything. He said, "Pro-Hillary gloaters doing end zone dance when still on the 50-yard line. You must get in your head Trump is going to win and act accordingly." And then in another one, he said, "It's over. Trump, the egoist, the racist, the narcissist, the liar, won. We all lost. His numbers will go up. She told the truth. So what?" And that's kind of how I walked away from it too, and I'm like, this doesn't move the needle enough. Because, yeah, she told the truth. Yeah, she's a more skilled debater. And, yeah, she's got the truth and kind of logic and reason on her side, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but to what extent, though? Like, these type of statements, it's like all this is a kind of pointing fingers at people and just being like, you're celebrating too soon. It's like them celebrating. I think even that is still sending a message. It's not like those people are not going to go out and vote for Hillary. Well, I think that them being excited about Hillary winning the debate is showing that they're supporting something that other people should be supporting. And like them like talking about how she destroyed Trump, it's like showing like, look at this guy. Like he's being destroyed. Like I think that all of that rhetoric does kind of gain momentum towards an actual attainable goal at that point.
I don't know that I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree because I think what the Clinton campaign I think is afraid of what he's saying is not that she didn't win or not that she won't win. It's to say like, it doesn't matter right now. And if you hype yourself into this, and then it doesn't like politicians don't want to be too far in the lead too early because then it creates complacency amongst the electorate, and then you do not get people to go out to the polls. So what he's saying is not that the reality that we saw on TV or on our computer screens wasn't the reality that we all saw necessarily. What he's saying is like liberals need to be very careful about how they respond to this because Trump can very easily still win. And I wanted to kind of, I don't mean to monopolize the conversation, but I wanted to just put this out there for you guys because I think it's interesting. We also talk about the Bradley effect, which is Tom Bradley in the LA mayor in 1982, about how Bradley was a black man who was running for mayor. He was well in the lead and he lost. And everyone's like, well, the polls were wrong. And the polls were wrong in that case because people were afraid that they would not vote for a black man. And we've often talked about Tom Bradley and the Bradley effect. But there's other things that I'm seeing and that I think a lot of people are seeing in polling and in trends that show that Trump's probably more popular than we think. And that if you want Clinton to win, all you have to do is make sure to keep your foot on the gas and keep going forward and vote and make sure that you're acting as if you're going to lose because that desperation is very essential. You'll probably be familiar with this something called the shy Tory factor, which is this thing that happened in the UK. In the 90s, it was a 90s phenomenon. I was reading a little bit about it. In the 1992 elections in the UK, polling was off 8.5%.
Right.
And it was skewed 8.5% towards Labour, which is the Liberal Party, right? As opposed to Tory, which is more conservative.
Yeah, Labour more centralist probably now, but
you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. A more left-right paradigm. And they were arguing that
without a two-party system, it gets a little bit more, the rainbow.
Exactly. You have more of a three-party system in the UK now, but they were 8.5 points off. This is 4 times the margin of error.
When was this?
This was in 1992.
So the general elections last year were off
6.5 points.
Incredibly off.
Again, skewed liberal. Yeah. And then the Brexit off 5 points. Yeah. Skewed liberal. Everyone thought the Brexit was going to be 52-48 or so to stay, and it was the exact inverse. And then in the 2014 midterm elections in the United States, Nate Silver said that polling skewed Democratic 4 points or more, and in some states by 10, 12, or 14 points. skewed liberal. And to the point where the guy in Virginia that was running against Mark Warner for the Senate was down 10 points in polling and lost by like a hair. And people were infuriated because they were like, if the polling was accurate, he would have the RNC would have spent money there.
Yeah.
He would have won. And everyone's like, the polling was so catastrophically skewed liberal that the reality on the ground was different. And this brings me to something called the spiral of silence. And I was reading a little bit about it. And the spiral of silence is when a person feels a certain way but feels like they'll be ostracized. Yep. They won't say anything, and this is an endemic thing with Trump. And they on Wikipedia they narrowed it down to this quote: "The assessment of one's social environment may not always correlate with reality." End quote. And that's my warning signal to everyone out there who thinks this is a done deal.
Is there anyone out there that does?
Yeah, there.
I think even if they think that
Yeah,
it's not a done deal, they don't maybe realize just how easily this could swing in the Republicans' favor.
Man, see that scares me. That scares the shit out of me because from everybody I know, it doesn't look like any of the people in the ecosystem that I'm looking at on Twitter and Facebook and all that. Those people are all going to vote. Those people all understand that it's not done. Everybody knows how close this is, and it's just like...
I mean, the people I see are doing the same thing. I don't understand how anyone could vote for this guy. So just throw that argument out the window. Let's not worry about that. Why should you vote for Hillary Clinton? Why should you vote for Donald Trump on the other side? But if you're one of the people throwing this up there, of like, I just can't believe anybody would do this. Stop saying that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think that even the other side of that, though, is that the people that are totally uninformed in this entire situation, of which I am not too far out of this. Yeah. I've very recently gotten super into this because I kind of have to. And it's very fucking important. And I know that now, like being an adult, like I am growing up. And I think that it's important that people do that. So like, please, if you're out there and don't think this is important, it fucking is. It really is. I think that for every person that's out there like saying like, oh, I don't understand how you can vote for this, there's way more people saying like the two evils thing, where it's just like, man, like America's fucked. They're just fucking saying that. Sure. And it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying this. You're just putting out GIFs and memes and images that like you don't understand like what you're even saying. And I think that is what's really causing the problem. Like the people that are like, how could you do this? I think that it's way more beneficial to say why you should vote for Hillary and like be positive in that way. But at the same time, it's getting to the point with Trump, and it got there a long time ago, where it's like, it also, I think there is value in saying, how could you vote for this person? Like how?
But I mean, like, I think the ship sailed on that. The people who are Trump supporters are Trump supporters. And I think when we stop there and start saying this whole thing of like the problem is, I feel like we get caught up in this thing of we're on Twitter and everybody's anti-Trump on Twitter because we're all the same age and we're all in the same industry and we're all in the same bracket. It's the people who aren't using these social media platforms that aren't seeing him say, I never said the Chinese started global warming or whatever, and then everybody's showing this tweet over and over again who aren't seeing that. They just hear him say that.
And like, you have to go into the assumption that like we are now stuck with two different candidates, right? You have the Hillary party, like the folks who have been like Hillary's base has been involved in this basically under the assumption that she was probably going to win. She was the strongest candidate when the Republicans and the Democrats put forward their, what do you call it? Like the various people who were possible candidates. She was by far the most popular person there, or the person who had the greatest lead. Trump was the underdog and is still the underdog. So all of his base are regardless of the fact that he is such a huge underdog, have been with him since then. So they are fucking screaming for him, and they are screaming to everyone else who's in their neighborhood, and they're screaming to their relatives, and they've been doing it now for over a year. And whereas on the other side, the Democrats, I mean, there's a lot of like Bernie people who are like, oh, okay, yeah, we might as well vote for Hillary because of that. But I woke up the day, like I'm not even from Britain, I'm from the Republic of Ireland, but they're our like nearest neighbors, right? We were at VidCon when the Brexit vote happened. I did not sleep that night. I fucking cried at one stage. That was like waking up the next day and walking around was like waking up in a different universe. Like, how did this happen? This vote was ridiculous. It was like the Scottish independence vote had more of a chance of winning than this. Because you're like, maybe, yeah, I could see why they'd like that. And I'm Irish, so we got our independence, so I'm going to be skewed one way over that. But like, it was the exact same thing. People didn't say, I'm going to vote for Brexit, because the assumption was that if they're going to say that at somebody, it's because I'm a xenophobe. Like, that's not going to stop people from voting. It's going to stop people from telling you they're not going to vote. Exactly. And what's happening is that the Trump thing, whenever anyone talks about it, he's a racist, he's a xenophobe, he hates women. So if you're voting for him, that's like 3 reasons why you would not tell somebody you're voting for Trump. And the problem is that like, there was a complacency with Brexit, and Brexit won well. It won by a couple of points.
That's what I'm saying though with this things, that there's so many people out there that are on Twitter that are posting the memes and gifs and stuff. Like that was my point with that, is that they are saying that these two people are evil. So that's why I think it's important that people are like I don't understand how people could vote for him in that ecosystem, because when you're looking at that and you're also posting this thing, then you at least understand that there's a much better choice than this other one. If the whole, it's the two evils and whatever, they're equals. They're not equals. These are not equals. And I think it's important to point that out. They need to know that.
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense, so I made this argument on Colin and Greg, and I want to make it again, so forgive me for, a few thousand of you that might have seen it. There's a bar of acceptability, right? And I think that the argument I make with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is that they're both below the bar of acceptability. One is further below the bar of acceptability. I think Trump is clearly below in the basement of acceptability, where Clinton's like more on the line, right? But I think she's still unacceptable. I think she's I don't like Hillary Clinton for a number of reasons. I don't like Trump either as a politician. I don't want either of them. I'm not voting for either of them. The problem is that when you're below the line of acceptability, you basically are the same to me. You're basically like, and I think that's the way to a lot of people, where it's like, you guys really
That's
both
ridiculous.
You guys, but you have thousands of people above the line, right? And even people that ran. I think Bernie Sanders is frankly completely off base on almost everything he says, but he's above the line, right?
Mitt Romney.
I think Mitt Romney clearly above the line. I think Barack Obama above the line. I think Jeb Bush above the line. I think, there's a lot of people that Martin O'Malley above the line. So I'm just saying that I think the argument is that like they're both, people really revile both of them. In fact, like on a trust, like polling shows that people trust Trump more than they trust Clinton, and trust that Trump is telling the truth more than they trust that Clinton's telling the truth, even though demonstrably Trump doesn't tell the truth to a much greater degree, whether you use PolitiFact or anything like that. That's the whole point.
Like, isn't this like a really awful byproduct of the fact that the Republicans have hated the Clintons for fucking decades?
Yeah, absolutely. And
so it really is maybe the whole, like, the fact that like somebody who's like she is probably or is like the most qualified, or the person who's worked in public office more than any other presidential candidate ever. But like we seem to be stuck in this situation where Trump has a shot at the presidency because of the Republicans, because for 20 years or whatever they have been terrified, angry at Bill Clinton, used him as a scapegoat, then used Hillary Clinton during the Obama administration, and now we're in a situation where people think that she's that unqualified to be president that they rather abstain or vote for a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, I mean that is where, I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that is where we are, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that, see, I wouldn't agree with you that it was the Republicans doing this. I think it's happening in spite of the Republicans. The Republicans did not want this. That's the big thing that a lot of people are walking away. I left the Republican Party because of this.
But they wanted Hillary there.
No, they didn't
want Trump.
We
there.
really wanted Sanders, but we
Right.
wanted, because I think Sanders would have been absolutely dismantled by a normal Republican candidate. Gallup shows 50% of Americans would never vote for a socialist under any circumstances. You can't start at 50 and win a general election. You can't. And even if the poll's wrong and it's 40%, you're starting at 60. You still can't win. So to me, I think it happened in spite of them. I think that a lot of this insurgency with Trump and with Sanders happened because independent voters are allowed to vote in primaries, which should not be allowed, by the way. I think that's totally fucking ridiculous, that you can be an independent voter, not affiliated to a party, walk into the Democratic thing and then vote for Sanders. You're not a Democrat. So what does it matter what you think about the Democratic primary? Go join a party and vote in their primaries. The Libertarians have a primary. Like, everyone has a primary. The Greens have a primary. So I think that it happened in spite of them. But nonetheless, I think that the big takeaway here, and that's what I'm trying to say, is, and this is the thing I'm afraid of, because I don't want to see Donald Trump be president. Like, I don't. Like, I've said in the past that if I had to choose one of them, I would have probably voted for Trump, simply because I hate Hillary Clinton. But the fact of the matter is, like, if I had to choose one of them, I fucking wouldn't choose one of them. I hate them both. My distaste for Clinton is significant, and a lot of people share that. Like, I just think Hillary Clinton, there's so much wrong with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton gets away with fucking everything.
But one of those people you vote for, and you're basically just like mainstreaming racism and xenophobia.
Yeah, and that's why my major. I was talking to my father about this, who's very into politics, who's a paleoconservative and kind of troubled by this election, like I am. And I said, I can't vote for either of these people. Like, I just can't, in good conscience, vote for either of these people under any circumstances. And he's in, I think, the same place. And I was saying, the thing about Trump is that I understand where someone like this comes from, and I understand the whole like Nazism kind of thing and like, you know, fascism. I think people are kind of overblowing that personally. I mean, you know, if you have that opinion, that's fine. I don't think that they're anywhere the same. I don't think the situation in the United States is the Weimar Republic. I don't think we just experienced a Great Depression. These guys aren't like, you know, brown shirts aren't in the streets beating the shit out of socialists and all. I mean, so like, we're historically far away from it. But I understand that the populist message is the same. And when you have populism is a very strong tool, but also a very dangerous tool. And the line between them is very thin. And so he's playing the populist rhetoric up to such a degree that people don't care what he says. Millions and tens of millions of people don't care what he says at all. Not because necessarily they're racist or xenophobic or anything like that, but because they just don't want Hillary Clinton and they don't want another politician. And I understand that. And what I've kept saying before is if you could take 25 things that Trump said and just remove them. So like he never went after the Gold Star family. He never went after John McCain. He never said the shit about Mexicans being rapists and all that kind of stuff.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Rosie O'Donnell, that one's funny. But that Rosie O'Donnell feud goes back a long ways, and it's like, it's ridiculous. It goes,
And now it's at the presidential debates.
Exactly. Like if you could remove some of those things, like he would probably be way more appealing to a lot of people, or at least people would be open about
Yeah, but
supporting
you
him.
could say the same thing about Clinton, Colin.
What do you mean?
Like, couldn't you remove 25 things that she's done or said, and you'd be happy with her?
Or get people stopping complaining.
But
about
ideologically, we're
fucking
way
emails.
further apart too. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that you have a situation with Trump where there just are a lot of secret Trump supporters, a lot of them,
yeah.
and and maybe there's good reason for them to be. I mean, I don't know that I would shout from the rooftop if I was a Trump supporter either, considering kind of the hostile nature of it. Yet he's still polling almost within the margin of error, in the margin of error, or depending on the polls you're looking at, he's ahead of Clinton. But it's pretty much neck and neck. In other words, you're not going to get a 1964 Goldwater versus Johnson kind of fucking drubbing, nor are you going to get a 1984 style electoral drubbing like when Reagan destroyed Carter and Reagan destroyed Mondale. It's not going to happen. Those days are gone. It's going to be way closer than that. The thing that interests me, and this is not a unique thought, but it's something I ever thought about. We know who all Clinton supporters are. We know they all exist, and we know them. No one's a secret Clinton supporter. Right? Like, because it's way more, at least socially, it's way more popular and positive, or at least neutral to be a Clinton supporter. That's mainstream.
It should say something, right?
Well, yeah, it should say something, but I'm not talking about like my own feelings. What I'm talking about is like from a more political science standpoint. You don't know how many Trump supporters are out there. You know
It's
who
like
some
Hydra.
of them are. And
It is.
And
just like Hydra.
and so so I just encourage people that don't want to see him be president, and I don't blame you, to just keep your foot on the gas and keep driving forward. Because Nate Silver on 538, which I think is a really great website. You guys go check it out. ESPN acquired it not too long ago. It's a really fantastic political science kind of numeric driven website about polling and aggregating and all that kind of stuff. Very interesting stuff, and he's a very smart man. He has Clinton at 55.4% likelihood of winning. Now, if you took this, and that's pretty good. He's up a solid 10 points, because people forget that it goes both ways. So
Yeah.
when you're 5 points above 50, that means the other person's 5 points below 50. So it's 10 points. It's a huge spread. That's a landslide, actually, if taken as a popular vote. But then you start to factor in, Brexit was off 5 points. Suddenly you add 5 to Trump, and you remove 5 from Clinton, and suddenly they're tied. Or you go to the midterms in 2014 and find that there was a 4.0 skew, and suddenly they're only a point apart. Or you go into the 2015 UK vote, and suddenly Trump's ahead.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that there's something about this whole cycle that should have everyone very nervous and on edge. And the only thing you can do about it is to go and vote and cast your ballot. I'm voting my protest vote because both these people suck. And I refuse to vote for them. I will never vote for Trump, and I will never vote for Clinton, not in a million years. You know, and there are a lot of people out there like me. But if you want Trump to lose, you have got to go and vote your conscience. You have to go vote who you think is gonna be the winner. And that's the only thing I wanted to say beyond the fact of the debate itself is I think that it was an interesting debate. I think that it was not necessarily an historic debate. I think the third debate is going to be brutal. I think that's obvious. I think if Trump's down 4 or 5 points, that's when shit gets crazy. You also we're going to have the WikiLeaks stuff. You're inevitably coming out. Maybe some October surprises are going to be in the mix. But I just want to encourage people to not, again, going back to the spiral of silence, the assessment of one's social environment may not always correlate with reality. That's the only thing you have to walk away from. And so everyone, like Michael Moore, everyone's spiking the football. You're spiking the football. You better be very careful. Evidence with Brexit, the 2014 midterms, the 2015 UK election, all say that everything's skewing liberal, even though there's a lot of shy Tories out there. And so I wanted to kind of use that as a platform too, to just encourage people, go out there and vote. and make sure not to be complacent. No matter, even if you support Trump, that's totally fine. I'm not going to judge you.
Exactly. Get out there and make your voices heard. Rock the vote, as P. Diddy
Can I
used to
make
say.
one point from the sort of European
Then we gotta go.
perspective?
Sure.
Yeah. Especially just when you mentioned the sort of, I mean, there is a lot of rhetoric on both sides of this, and the sort of the I guess fascism or 21st century Nazism sort of thing. People wrapping in the white power people and with Trump folks. You say that that's not like as close to the bone or as close to reality as possible. I think when you've lived in a country like America, not to generalize, I don't want to do that here, but where you guys have been relatively centralist for the past 100 years or so, that shit can happen way, way quicker than you think it might. Like, there are countries in Europe right now which are having some really messed up things happen politically that have swung in the past 5 to 10 years, like between Greece and Poland, France, Germany. I grew up in a country that was thankfully not at war, but the neighbours upstairs were, and they all thought we were a terrorist next door. And then I was lucky enough to be able to move to England 10 years later, and then suddenly it was the brown folk who were terrorists. It wasn't me anymore. Like, after Brexit, the stories I was hearing from friends in the UK about how the morning after, when they were going to work, that suddenly they were getting shouted at. It can happen like that. And if Trump gets elected, my massive worry for people in this country is that it basically, like, you need to make racists terrified again. Like, that's the only thing that stops people from acting like this. And my big worry is that you're right, it's not close right now, but if he gets elected in, you've basically just made it okay to be a racist. And that's my huge worry for America, because I've seen it happen. I've seen it the opposite happen. I've seen wonderful things happen where I have an English brother-in-law and we get on really great and we have a wonderful if this was 20 years earlier, it would have been different. And I've seen what's happened to my brothers and sisters in other parts of Europe where they're now living in countries they couldn't have imagined 5 years ago. So that's the only thing I'd say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right in the sense that populism can turn on a dime. Again, people that are arguing this more Nazism or more Hitler-based thing or whatever really don't know history, because Hitler had been talking very clearly and openly about what he wanted to do for 15 years before he got into power and was even put in prison. And then was elected, shockingly. So to the point of that, 1933. So, and then, things turned very rapidly and Nazi Germany rose and was the thing for 12 years. And it's a very scary kind of thing. I just feel like it's this specific kind of rhetoric. And again, this is a unique idea because this is something I've been reading about the past month. People need to be careful with the rhetoric and make sure to ground the rhetoric in a place that's most reasonable, or at least most effective. The reason I say that and what I mean by that is there's a lot of arguments being made right now, and I think probably rightfully so, that Democrats worked so hard to make Bush into a cartoon character and McCain into a cartoon character and Romney into a cartoon character. Three men who, frankly, weren't cartoon characters. I mean, maybe Bush. But McCain and Romney were totally normal centrist Republicans. Like, yeah, they had their problems or whatever. And even Bush, I think history is going to look more kindly on than I think people give it credit for now. But with McCain and with Romney, they demonized these men and made them almost subhuman or unhuman or inhuman based on their politics and all these kinds of things. And so everyone's like, but McCain and Romney weren't that bad. And so when they say that stuff about Trump, everyone's like, well, no, you're full of shit because you were full of shit about Romney and you were full of shit about McCain. Yeah. And that's a dangerous tool, which is why you have to make sure to ground, just from a fundamental point, you have to ground like what you're saying about these people in reality. So, and also understand that when you shout out xenophobia or racism or sexism or whatever, you're attaching that rightly or wrongly. And I think clearly Trump has said sexist, racist, and xenophobic things. I think there's no doubt about that. But you tether his supporters to that, and science shows that when you're proven wrong or proven to be bad, you just double down. So, and people have all been there in an argument or been there in some sort of debate. So there has to be a more scientific way to go about this. The one thing I will say, and that's what I'm saying, is like, that's my take on the debate, which really wasn't even the central point of this particular topic. But really, I want to have a more cautionary tale about where the polling is and where polling said we were in other places and how that turned out. And for people to be very, very careful to assume that they are in this vast majority, because you aren't. Like, at the very least, it's something like 55-45 at best. And so when you're shouting down the other side, the people on the fence, they might actually fall on the side of the fence you don't want them to, simply because they don't want to be with you. And so we have to be very careful about that rhetoric. All I know is that I love political science and I love history, and this has been the most dynamic, interesting, strange, I think strange is probably the best word, cycle I've ever seen or ever read about.
I can't wait for politics to be boring again.
But here's the one takeaway I want you guys to think about. And I was surprised more people weren't talking about this. The last question of the debate was, will you accept the result of the election? And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Since Washington turned over to the presidency to John Adams in 1797, we've had a peaceful transfer of power ever since President 1 to President 2, including in 1860 and including in 1864, 1932, 1936, 1940, 1944, all times when you could imagine when shit would have been haywire in the United States, even 1916. And we have to ask that question now.
Well, now we have someone that's not playing by the rules.
I know, but it's a very scary thing. That's all.
It definitely is. But in my opinion, it's not like people were questioning, will Hillary do it?
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's a very scary, to the point of it being kind of a frightening time. I think that it's a very scary question to end a debate on, where I'm like, you better fucking accept the results.
Yeah,
like, that's how we do it here.
I've also never been so worried for the safety of either candidate. Like, the rhetoric is so insane that I can, when one of them gets elected, like, it's
even
happened
now,
to American presidents more than probably
when
a lot of other countries.
I had it on CNN for the debate, and I was then moving around, getting Portillo ready or whatever. And when they rolled out and they were doing the on the line thing where Trump was like going down,
right?
There was one part where I was going off the turn off TV, and it was like Trump, and like and it was just like so shades of like Bobby Kennedy and all these different things where it's like, fuck, that was weird. Like that's a weird, but I could see that happening with as riled up and crazy as everyone is.
Yeah.
Well, I want, because I'm sure we'll talk about this again, so I want to get it on the record. And Dan, you can play, although I guess you won't be here for the next episode. I'd like to do it maybe after the third debate or right before the election or whatever. What do you guys think what do you think the result will be in November? And we'll see if it will change. So I'll start. I think Clinton will win. I think it'll be something like 46-43. The rest of it going to Johnson and Stein. And I think it's going to be a little nerve-wracking. I think that the polling always scientifically always tightens right before an election. So for as tight as they are now, it's probably going to be right on top of each other, unless something catastrophic happens to either candidate, or unless people come around and start seeing Trump for what he is, I think, and start seeing like, well, Clinton's obviously the clearer choice, which I think a lot of people are on right now. But I think Clinton wins. I think Clinton wins by 3 points. And then electorally, it's going to be way different because the electoral map doesn't work out like that. It could be more of a drubbing in the electoral college, but I think Clinton's probably still going to win.
I think Trump wins. It scares me, and like I don't like that. I think that there's a lot that can change, but I think that things need to happen or else Trump wins. If the vote was today, I think Trump would win, and that's horrifying. And I think that is a testament to people that don't want that to happen need to go out and do something and vote and get people that aren't going to vote, because I do think that he has more than a chance at winning. I think that it's essentially a surefire thing. Like if last night's debate can happen, and then there's people that are not seeing her as the clear winner and the person you should vote for, I think that we are fucked and that he will win. So I hope things change.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I want to say Clinton, of course, but I feel like that's me in our echo chamber just feeling like, why would anyone vote for him? But I know people who want to vote for Trump, and I can see the reality where he wins. This is nothing like for me at that, what was it, Beyond 200 or whatever, where it was like, whenever I had the pizza bet with Obama and getting elected, like I knew both those elections, it was a slam dunk that Barack Obama was going to walk away. There was no chance that wasn't going to happen. And this one, there's no, I don't know. I can see Trump winning. I hope Hillary does, but I do feel that like it's an uphill battle for Hillary, which sounds so weird and so crazy based on who this guy is and what he says.
Because for him, it's a downhill. Like the way I see it is, it's for him, he's just gaining speed.
Yeah.
The further down he goes, he's just going to launch up.
Yeah.
And that's really scary.
There's like no expectation for him to win as well. I don't know. I like 4-point spread, like 2-3 maybe in favor of Clinton. The thing that sort of when you talk about election day that comes up for me is the day of Brexit, the day that the vote was on. It rained in London, and a lot of people didn't go out and vote. So fucking hail, rain, or sunshine or monsoon, make sure whoever you're voting for get your voice out there and do it. You know what I mean? Yep, matters so much. Even if you're not voting for yourself, vote for other people. Like just vote.
And go in there and pretend to be other people and vote for them.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't happen. I'll say it, because we do have Republicans or conservatives that listen to the show, and Trump supporters that listen to this show. I say if you're going to vote for Trump, go vote for Trump. Just get out there and vote. It is very important, and don't make up your own mind, but look at the data and look at the evidence around you too, and understand or try to understand what's going on, because I don't think any of us understand what's going on. If you follow me for the last 18 months, I counted Trump out 25 times. Right. Yeah. And that's the major thing we have to walk away from. Trump has vanquished everyone that he's come in contact with. So it's and some of these were heavy hitters. Some of these were no joke people, including Jeb Bush, who's a very smart man, including Marco Rubio, a very smart man, including Ted Cruz, who I fucking loathe, a very smart man. People that know exactly what they're doing and would have been a better president, even Ted Cruz, than Donald Trump, and he fucking killed them all.
As Paris Hilton said, vote or die. Well, that topic was brought to you by Squarespace. And Squarespace brought you the original kindoffunny.com. That's right, Nick Scarpino used it. And as you know, Nick, he can't even put on a t-shirt without help. So the fact that he could use it shows you how easy Squarespace is. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. Creating your website with Squarespace is a simple, intuitive process. You can arrange all the things you want, the content, the features, with a click of a mouse. Plus, Squarespace makes adding a domain to your site simple. If you sign up for a year, you'll receive a custom domain for a year for free. Hooray! Plus, design a best-in-class online store with Squarespace's award-winning templates, customizable settings, and more, all without a single plugin. And it's worth pointing out that Squarespace offers 24/7 customer support. Every member of the customer care team is an experienced Squarespace user, so not Nick Scarpino, working in a Squarespace office. No matter how technical your problem or trivial seeming your question, their free team is always online to assist you. So what are you waiting for? Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code KINDOFFUNNY to get 10% off your first purchase. Danny, what's your topic?
Fucking hell. You're going to make me follow that?
Yeah.
My topic? You've got to. Damn you, Greg.
It's a good palate cleanser.
This show makes no sense.
Is it good?
We'll
We'll
Okay.
talk about all types of
Could
shit.
be a fucking hard swing.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Overwatch porn.
Overwatch porn.
More specifically, let's talk about watching porn, not because it's porn and gets you aroused.
Yeah.
But for entertainment.
Yeah.
Explain Overwatch porn to me. 'Cause-
Overwatch. I know we don't talk about video games in the show.
No, you're allowed to. You can do whatever the hell
Okay,
you want on
cool.
the show. Don't worry.
Overwatch is a video game made by Blizzard.
I know that part. Yeah.
Colin's already like, Overwatch is a video game that a lot of people like because it's
Sure.
got characters in it which are very
Identifiable.
yes.
They got booties. I've seen the booties on these.
also they have
Yeah, yeah,
booties.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some of them, yes. For instance, Tracer had a booty that then got nerfed.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could say.
Nerf this.
Yeah, nice. So people have sort of gone with this and run with this, and I didn't
Is
realize
this a big subsection of porn?
It's a really large subset.
Because you came in and mentioned this is what you might want to do.
Yeah.
And I think on Reddit 2 days ago, I saw a Diva cosplay. Is that how you
Okay.
say it? Or
Yeah,
is it
Diva. Yeah, right,
Diva.
Diva.
I don't play the Overwatch, but I
Okay.
know the characters enough a little bit because so many people cosplay and do
Right.
the stuff. And it was this, like, on Reddit, it was like, whatever, Diva, not safe for work porn. And I clicked on it. And yeah, it was this.
It wasn't safe for work.
No, it was not safe
Sure
for
was
work.
not safe
But I
for
didn't.
work.
I thought it was like a one-off. I didn't realize that there was, because it was like amateur filming this woman in the thing, and then just like tearing the costume off of her and tearing open holes and stuff.
No,
I was
so,
like,
so
huh.
this is coming from a different angle.
Okay.
Do you know when you're browsing the internet and you see those little like it's like Marge Simpson doing some shit she wouldn't be doing in the real TV show?
When you're browsing the internet.
yeah, you know,
yeah.
You're just on CNN or Amazon.
private browsing the internet.
Incognito.
yeah. And like you see, you're like, okay, that's weird. Like I've never delved into that before, but I guess some people like that.
Yeah.
But you keep seeing them. Like I've seen Meg Griffin and a lot of other people doing some stuff that it's always the women as well. It's never Homer.
It's not always the
like
women.
doing all that stuff, right? And then so basically Overwatch was like my gateway drug into this. Because who was I talking to this about? I think it was Gersman right before I left GameSpot. That he had gone into an Overwatch porn hole. So this morning I went into an Overwatch porn hole, and it is a deep hole.
Uh-huh.
And it's not that. It's not
moist.
people
It's
dressed
a
up.
moist- oh,
it's like
what?
fucking CG.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking like they took the assets and put them into what is that thing called? Like the
Porn generator.
Oh, the source thing? The
source filmmaker
editor? Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently somebody's like selling dicks and
Naturally.
hoo-has on that.
Makes
thing
sense.
that you can just stick on. Like there
How
are
many dicks you
There
talking?
is yes. First of all, yes, Widowwanker with a dick is very popular.
Good.
There's lots of them. They're voiced. They have arcs. They have arcs that intersect with each other.
What?
And there are like fucking hundreds of thousands of views on
That's
this.
awesome.
I mean, so, all right, we got to unwrap this a little bit. So, obviously, this was going to be a thing, right? Like the Rule 43
yeah.
has
Yeah.
been a thing forever where it's like, if it exists, there is porn of it. I think Overwatch kind of started early, where we got introduced to the characters a year before the game was even announced. So it's like the game is built upon it's the characters that it has. So it's like people are already kind of identified, totally built for cosplay and all that stuff. Also built for fan art. Perfect game for fan art. Well, when you're on DeviantArt, what happens? It quickly goes from fan art to sex.
To hear Sonic's throbbing cock.
Exactly. But why is Sonic so popular in that? There's a cast of characters that are easily kind of
There's already a universe for you to
sexified.
get in and play with.
Exactly. Like you can create this whole thing. So
Did you say
Overwatch-
already sexified?
Well,
like
no.
Sega had like clearly Knuckles is down
They're like,
for
yeah,
fisting.
no, damn, that's some violent shit. But no, so I think that Overwatch it fits really well for all this. We saw it with the fan art kind of go, and then the source filmmaker and all that. It turns into a bit more of the CG stuff, and then the actual porn industry comes in. And did you see recently last week there was an Overwatch porn released, like a legitimate.
Like a triple X parody.
Triple X, yeah,
Triple X. Triple A parody.
The Overwatch. Oh man, it had a great name.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'll look it up in a second. And
Winston's
Jim
Butt
Sterling
Factory.
actually watched it and did a whole like reaction
Oh, really?
to it, like as he like was live reacting. And it's
CG
ridiculous.
or people
No.
dressed up?
Cosplay, like legit cosplay in character, like what you'd imagine. It's a triple X parody. It's great.
See, that's where I thought you were going. Because for me, like, I didn't realize you were going the computer route. I thought you were just going costume route. Because there was when they released the 1960s Batman Triple X parody, I was like, I gotta watch this.
Was
Like,
that like modern or was that in the 60s they did that?
no.
This is a modern interpretation.
Within the last 5 years, they did it where it was them in like the Adam West costumes or whatever doing
Right.
a porn parody or whatever.
Does somebody orgasm and then a load of dancers jump in and they start dancing?
There was dancing, yeah. There was
Okay,
definitely
great.
dancing, and there was the whole like the Adam West speech he said.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Were
and
they
everything
walking
else.
up a building?
Oh yeah, I think
And
that was
having
it. Yeah,
sex
yeah.
up a building?
I don't think they had sex up
Okay.
a building or whatever. But that was
Sequel.
the thing of when I saw that, I was like, well, I got to watch this.
Right.
And I went around and I joined one of those porn websites just for the 24-hour trial so I could watch this to see what this is all about because I got to know what's going on here. That was mine. Porn is entertainment.
Yeah.
Did I masturbate to it? Of course I did. But it was also, I just got to see this. This is just something right in my wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, but I didn't know this. You're going to Overwatch
So
this.
I figured it existed, right? It's like that rule. It's like it always exists. But what I didn't expect was just how many of these. There's
so many.
You'd never have to watch another porn again.
No, and we're talking about Pornhub or X videos. Like all these sites have Overwatch categories.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like, it's deep.
Oh, so
And
you know what the best part is?
the name. Oversnatch. Brazzers presents Oversnatch.
Brazzers.
There's a YouTube trailer for it. Go check it out. It's fantastic. It's Widowmaker and Reaper, but they have other names. And she's like one shot, one kill. But
Nice.
it's cum shots. I'm like, God damn.
Damn. See, I like it when the fans take it to that level.
Oh yeah.
They're going to take.
This isn't even fans. This is. I mean, yeah, I guess it's
Shrewd
there must-
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like this.
Damn,
it's
look
like
how
this
good
trademark.
Look at how good
rice.
this CG looks good.
Yeah, no, like it's no joke. Like it's
Oh,
like,
look at this cock between
like
this
these people
asshole.
could work for Pixar. It is, and like fluid dynamics and everything. It's
Yeah,
like
this is
it's
what they
just
go home. These are
jiggle
passion
physics.
projects.
It's fucking
Jiggle physics?
Yeah, and you know what the best part is?
What's the best part of Overwatch
What are
porn,
those
Danny?
videos like? We're gonna talk about like early 2000s internet stuff in a little bit, right? The voiceover's the best part. Oh, right? You enjoying this, you wanker? You should do that. You should do the voice.
Oh, Governor, you enjoying this, you wanker?
Oh my God.
Boner's gone.
She's putting it inside of her.
It's me, the Overwatch gorilla.
insane. You need to watch this, guys. It's fantastic.
So you remember the whole trend of like what were they called? The I was supposed to say AMR videos. What are they? The like
ASMR?
the anime music videos. AM.
Oh, AMVs.
AMVs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So AMV. So there's AMVs of this stuff as well. Is that like on Pornhub?
So it's just
there's
like Linkin Park music,
right with like a hot cut of all this stuff. I was just like, this is a craft. This is beautiful.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So this is
You're
funny.
right, there are so many.
This is actually, it is a weird segue into my topic later,
Jesus.
where we're going to be talking about Napster and Kazan stuff. And I've told this story before, but the abbreviated version is the first ever video game trailer I downloaded using Kazaa, I think, back then, was the Final Fantasy X-2 trailer. And I started downloading
For a second,
it.
I thought this was watermarked IGN. It was watermarked something different.
Hilarious. So it took like 4 days to download 56K. It was horrible. When I finally get it, it was not the Final Fantasy X-2 trailer. It was a Final Fantasy X inspired porn. Very Japanese. We're talking full mosaics. Like you ain't seeing anything fun.
That's how you used to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, accidentally.
Yeah. So it was Riku and Tidus, and they were like, that shit was not canon, but I enjoyed it a lot. And I was like 11, 12 at the time. And I'm like, this is not the trailer, but good Lord, that was my introduction to porn.
Do you want to know the opposite, like the worst version of that? Is that once on, I think it might have been LimeWire, I don't know. I was downloading what I thought was porn, and then I turned it on, and it was like some fucking terrorist video of fucking some gnarly shit going down.
Get you, man.
And I'm already got my piece loaded.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And it's, nope. Like, if my fucking mom walks in now.
That's when you realize you're into some weird shit.
Like she's going to want to sit me down with the priest, and we're going to have to have a conversation.
That's some Nick
about it.
Scarpino levels of like fucked up.
It's way easier to
Not
get porn in
down.
21st century.
All right, moving back to Overwatch.
Overwatch porn.
I love this. I have
glad
not.
it exists.
See, what's good about it, though, you're right, it's the fans. It's the fan feedback and stuff. They got to make sure that they're getting the characters right. Because the last thing I want to see is just
Half-assed.
these, like, CG characters pressed against each other. That's just like, we need to know the backstories. We need to know the characters. I want to make sure that it is as close to canon as humanly possible.
I want to know more about how they did this and what the technology is behind this. Because the other night, I was showing Jen the Ismahawk videos, and then it just autoplayed them all. And then when it got through Deadpool versus Deadpool, it popped up with Deadpool versus Venom, and it was like a fan machinima thing, and it looked terrible. You know what I mean? They were just models in a game. I think they're in GTA smashing together, and flying over and doing all this stuff. That was
Fantastic.
those were asses and dicks and stuff rubbing all over each other. Yeah.
This reminds me of, in a weird way, like Patreon. Actually, there is an element of Patreon, which is also
there's behind the scenes Patreon. People are always like, oh, but you guys are like some of the most successful creators on Patreon. I'm like, well, that you see publicly, yeah.
No, we still are. As of now, the two groups that were above us, gone. Because
they got split in half, I think.
Who would have expected it? There was egos that got involved in the porn. So now there's two rival porn things, and neither of them alone can compete with us.
Gotcha.
But there's like passionate communities for that stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I did say like porn is entertainment. I don't want to put anyone out. If you enjoy this stuff, fucking you do.
Oh
you.
yeah,
Like, enjoy yourself.
No.
You
Jack
know what
off,
I mean?
do whatever you want. No,
But
don't hurt anybody.
So especially if you're into like stuff that nobody else is into and it's not being made, like that's where there's money in that, so they can spend the money on making this stuff, right? There must be like communities of people like there is via Patreon of folks just being like, hell yeah. Like I'll give $5. Nobody's making this. I'll give you $10 a month.
So that group that split into two. So now there's two groups doing the same thing. It is the furry kind of Sonic the Hedgehog-esque.
Live action.
It's not live action.
I'm asking.
No.
You said furry, so I think guys in
It's
suits. Girls in
It's
suits.
writing, I think.
It's what?
It's writing, isn't it?
Part of it's writing, and then
Okay.
part of it is just it's pictures.
Okay.
Like it's not even videos or anything like that. Then on the other side of it, it is people that will paint you or like draw you and an anime character together, and it's ridiculous. Like the Patreon levels for it, it's like $300.
Which Overwatch character do I want to
exactly.
fuck or get fucked by?
Are we
Silver
fucking
76.
Are we fucking in the image?
It's whatever you commission them to.
For $300, huh?
Something
And it
like
has
that.
to be anime?
No, there's game characters. Like I've seen there's like so much crossplay stuff going on.
I just got
with,
Ross
like
from
female
Friends.
Link, and it's just like, where's that coming from? You know, I'm like, my head does not go, I'm trying to bang a female Link. Not saying I would.
Where does your head go?
I don't know.
Who are you trying to bang? What would your $300
Disney
commission?
princess. I was just being all the princesses.
Oh, so basically what Panda must made you for free.
great.
Okay,
great.
just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Colin, for $300, what cartoon character are you banging in this thing?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to think. $300.
See,
would
my
make a
whole
video.
thing is, do I want it to be
Lola
comedy?
Rabbit?
Do I want it to be somebody like hot? Because like me banging the Grimace, that's pretty great.
That'd be sexy.
The
That'd be
fry
sexy.
the fry kids watching in horror.
I'm into it.
Maybe
Yeah.
like Scarlet or Lady J from G.I. Joe or something like that.
Yeah. See, and that's where
The Baroness.
That's when I come back. I'm like maybe a Supergirl, a Batgirl, something like that. Yeah. But
I'm
Grimace,
sticking with Lola
Yeah.
from Space Jam.
the dog. Oh,
Lola
no.
Rabbit.
Okay.
No, not the dog.
April
God.
O'Neil.
April O'Neil.
Yeah.
Nice.
April O'Neil. I want to see Earthworm Jim porn though. Like out of the suit.
Ooh.
So he's just a worm?
Yeah.
He's just in there?
He's a big worm though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
Pretty thick worm.
He's suffocating in there.
Yeah. Or he's thicker on one end than the other.
Yeah.
So it depends if you.
he could do a little bit
Oh,
too
God, he's doing
action.
he's doing
Oh,
the
yeah.
best.
There's a lot of stuff going on here.
And the problem is,
Double
again, now
edit gym.
there's got it. Have you done that yet? Have you looked for Earthworm Jim porn?
No, because
Oh.
I'm just a little frightened baby, and I saw
Well,
the
now I'm
Overwatch
super
stuff.
excited about this. I never
Google's
even.
an unusual and powerful tool.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
You're,
Brings you
you're
to
on it
places
because that's the thing is like
little expected.
here's what I would say because obviously I've grown up with the porn. You know what I mean? I've seen the porn. I've never seen animated porn that good.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at. If the technology is there now, what a time to be alive.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So what's next? Is it like
VR porn
Right.
with the Overwatch characters, yeah.
where you can just like get in there and look at any angle you want?
Yeah, yeah. That's Earthworm Jim, all right. And so he is all who's the
Who's that?
who's
Is
the
that-
woman he's
I'm
in?
not too
that-
familiar with the Earthworm Jim lore.
Is it
Okay.
queen pulsating, bloated, festering,
I like how
sweaty
the picture says
malformed slut
groovy
for a
on
butt?
it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. There's just
Is it Peter Puppy?
no. It's
Is it Toe Jam and Earl?
no. It's the little girl from Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Wow.
Oh no.
It's a gloriously like it's like a free pass for trademark because nobody wants to sue these people because then you're suing.
You don't want to see them in court.
These are the hardest of hardcore fan people. You can't go after them after. Are you kidding me? Can't get in there and do this. Tim, you
I
should
guess
close
it's
it. It looks
parody
like
as
it's
well,
ruined.
right?
Chippendale,
Yeah.
man. That,
So-
like I'm just
Oh,
going
now
down
it's
the rabbit
Chippendale
hole.
Rescue Rangers?
And now it's Alvin with all the Chipettes.
Let me see that.
Oh, can I see that? Yeah.
Is
there Alf
a little
porn?
too eager to
Let me
see
see it.
that?
This is awesome.
Oh, what? Wait, is one of them on a toilet?
Yeah.
Is that the weirdest
Wait,
thing about
is
that?
she?
Good.
Is Alvin?
Oh, no, I'm not reading this.
Is Alvin going down on one of the chipettes on a
Yeah.
toilet?
Yeah.
Is that the cartoon
That's
you
the
just showed me?
cartoon. Yeah,
What
yeah.
is this narrative here? Good. Oh no.
Alvin, Simon,
Oh my God. Oh, good Lord.
There's some nasty shit
Wow.
out there.
What is that, Kevin?
Please don't make it so I have to blur something out.
We're not
so
gonna-
just
No,
be
we
aware
won't.
where your
Blur. We
cameras
won't.
are.
Jesus Christ. And they're so talented. Alf with two women. Live action Alf with two
Oh
women.
no, that's
What's
not
what's
okay.
the weirdest thing
Alpha's
you can
getting
find?
laid, though.
Please tweet it at Kinda Funny Kevin.
Please tweet the weirdest. There's Alf going down on somebody. I guess the daughter. It looks like maybe the daughter from Alf.
Did you ever think about Earthworm Jim looking in the ass of the dad from Dinosaur?
It's sad that it was just that shirt. I'm like, oh, I know him.
It's just a colonoscopy.
I know that dinosaur. That man.
Oh, son of
Hard
a-
work.
But
Working blue collar
for
dinosaur.
the record, if any of this is what gets you off, more power to you. No judgment. It's just there's a whole new world of deviant art over here. I hadn't.
and
gone
what a
into.
time to be alive because like 10 years ago,
You'd be all
you
by
wouldn't-
yourself.
yeah.
You wouldn't know.
You would
what's
have been fucked. But no, man. Here's whatever Greg just said.
Now
I'm
some-
with it to
now
an
something else is getting
extent.
fucked.
What do we got? What's
But I'm looking at a picture of goofy fucking Roxanne.
who's Roxanne?
Roxanne is Max's, his son's like crush.
Okay.
I ain't down with that.
No.
If you're fucking into, he is
Now-
really buff. Yeah.
In dog years, is Roxanne legal? Like, did she look
in
like an
dog
adult
years,
Roxanne? Then?
I don't know what dog
Seven?
legalities are.
Good point. Good point.
She's a young teenage girl.
But did she look older than that? No, that's not good. How do you know? Do you have a mental link to Tim? Wait, how do you know so much about this image of porn
If
from over there?
you Google Earthworm Jim porn, guess what? That's what Tim Googled.
If Earthworm Jim porn gets Googled, one of the search results is Goofy fucking his son's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
Come on,
And
Google,
now-
fix the
We
algorithm.
deserve President
And now
Trump.
Pete's getting involved. Oh, what the fuck? No. See? No, there's lines. There are clear lines. And Max should not be doing that to his father.
Oh, dear God.
All right, all
Oh,
right,
dear
all right.
God.
Did we cover Overwatch
Yeah,
porn enough, I guess?
Sure did.
Man.
More than you might have expected.
And
Yeah.
if you know somebody who makes the Overwatch porn we were looking at, send them this video. Congratulations. I cannot get over how good that looks.
Was there any
Put me in touch so I
standouts?
can do a documentary.
Oh my god, you should.
You should do that. No
Gotta get
clip.
the clicks.
That'd be
But
very good.
was there any that stood out to you? Because I'm definitely gonna check this out later.
I feel like they all stood out in some sort of way.
How long were you in the Overwatch hole?
Like a good, healthy 58 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
camping like one
if
of
you
them
get to an
bastards.
hour, you're in.
No,
you're not. It's no
yeah,
longer
no.
entertainment. You're in.
Yeah, I gotta like step away before it like totally takes control.
Sure. Sure.
I'm gonna say all of. I'm gonna maybe the Widowmaker with a dick one. That was a bit weird.
That was a bit weird.
Yeah.
Do they do the play of the game?
Oh, no, but they
God.
start a lot of them with that, and some of them are like fake
like the
ones. and
victory
some are real ones.
celebration?
Yeah. It's like it's like Farah in da, 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 da.
Oh my God.
And some of them are like with other Overwatch, like Soldier 76 gets brought in a lot because
Yeah.
you don't have to animate his face. I guess it's pretty easy to do that. But then some of them are just like clearly just generic body that's used in all of these porns, and then they're all like done in first person, so it's like just buff tanned dude.
Let's finish this show.
Beautiful thing.
I got things to do.
My topic, I want to talk about being a dumb kid. Being one of those dumb kids, as Colin Moriarty
wouldn't know
would say.
about it.
Oh, I bet you do. Because I'm going to set up I was a dumb kid, obviously. I think we've covered that enough. You'll have to take notes for the documentary on behalf of Nick Scarpino. But we're in Anaheim the other day. It's GameStop Expo. Come back from a long, hard day of work. Probably had our 4th steak dinner of the trip. I get into bed, cozy up, and I'm like, I'm going to watch a little TV before I go to bed. So I get back out of bed. I get the shower cap or whatever, wrap that around the remote because I'm not touching this disgusting ass remote, I'll tell you right now. Turn on the TV, start flipping through the channels, and I hit a little movie. A little film. Called The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin. You remember this?
Great movie.
Elijah Wood, Macaulay Culkin. This is his breakout role after Home Alone. He's like, I got this good guy rep. I'm going to go play this movie, The Good Son, where I'm actually the bad son. And I killed my little brother, and I'm psycho. I'm clearly a psychopath or whatever. Before ever seeing The Good Son, saw maybe a trailer for it. I read the novelization of The Good Son through Scholastic, whatever. Bought at the book club, Colin, the little novelization of The Good Son. And then when the movie had the audacity to come to television on pay-per-views, my parents wouldn't let me rent it, wouldn't let me watch it. But I'm like, Mom, I know these characters inside and out because I read the novelization of The Good Son. And now this got me thinking, Colin. I also, without ever seeing the movie or reading the comic book, read the novelization of Spawn, starring John Leguizamo. Now, again, didn't see the movie, but knew he was the clown in it, right? But I read the novelization of Spawn. Didn't care about the character before or after, but this is what I did. Now, these are dumb kid moves. This is a dumb fucking thing to do, Danny O'Dwyer. And then it dawned on me, why didn't my parents try to stop me? Now, I guess you could go with the argument, he's reading, Jamie, let him go.
Yeah.
That's good enough. Nobody was like, you read these 2 books. Mm-hmm. Clearly you're interested in books that have trailers, I guess.
Yeah.
There had to have been a point, right, where they could have said, if you like, there was no Amazon back then, right? Of if you like this, maybe you like this.
There was, though. And I think this is the point, is you mentioned the Scholastic
Book club.
things.
Yeah.
That was the Amazon, if you like this, you'll like that. You're flipping through the the book fair's coming.
Yeah.
They give you the little, like the sheets, it's like 4 pages. Whatever's featured on those 4 pages, you know what the good stuff is.
Sure.
They promote it. Did I read the Space Jam novelization? Yeah. Did I refuse to watch the movie till I finished the book? Yeah.
Smart.
Did it take me a long time to finish that shit?
Sure.
Yeah. But I did. And I thought I was cool because Scholastic told me. Scholastic, they're running a freaking drug deal thing going on. There's a whole circuit going on with these kids.
100%.
Those lies, they give you the big ass Goosebumps box where it's like, oh, you pay this much a month. It's only 2 cents this month, and the next thing you know, it's like $1,000 down the drain.
Sure.
You don't even have all the Goosebump books.
Sure.
It's a freaking scam.
Yeah.
You didn't get scammed.
No, but I wish I had.
You didn't get the front page stuff. You were going a couple pages
And that's
in.
the thing is, why were they selling me the novelization of Spawn or The Good Son?
Because there's money to be made.
And they got me. They
They're
got my money.
getting money off the back end, I'm betting you.
Scholastic
These
Book
movies.
Fair and Book Club was an awesome day of school, though, if we're being honest. And especially, not only that, just getting the catalog and flipping through it. You know what I mean? I remember when I didn't get, I remember, but I don't remember. When I didn't get the fucking Here Comes the Caterpillar or whatever in 2nd grade, right? There was some fucking story about
Here comes the caterpillar,
some fucking
the American classic.
some goddamn caterpillar living in an apple or some shit. But I remember then the kids who did got like the plushy apple that had the caterpillar. And I was like, fuck, that would have been good. Didn't care about the caterpillar story. You know what I mean? But I didn't care about Spawn's story, but I bought that and read that. Now, again, why didn't someone stop me or just put me on a different track? God only knows. This wouldn't be a Scholastic Book Club, Tim, that I found. Read this book, Crush. Maybe it wasn't called Crush, but it was something similar to that, right? And what this story was...
of Crash.
No. What this story was, and it must have been junior high, when you're experimenting with yourselves and others, you know what I mean? You want to know how body works. You're staying up, listening to B96's knockoff Loveline, because Loveline didn't come on till later. You know what I'm saying here. this book, right, was this girl who got murdered, pushed off a balcony, right?
Babysitter's Club?
No, but then her ghost was still out to trying to solve her crime or whatever. And I distinctly remember her going into her boyfriend's dreams, and he was about to have sex with another girl, and then he had to have this conversation with her about this is just a fantasy or whatever. But there was that there might be some sex in this book that got me to read this. Why didn't anybody say there's better books with sex in them? Why don't you read this? Why don't you get on this? But again, here's what I think might stand out about the books I'm choosing to read, right? They are contemporary to my time. You know what I did not like? I'm reading these Frog and Toad books. These guys on the cover are riding the old school bicycles with the big
Penny
and
farthing.
then the little wheel. Well, come on. I want to know what's happening with Frog and Toad in real life. What's happening with them now? I didn't like
In the streets.
when you're reading The Great Brain, a great series of books, right? Except that like one of the Great Brain schemes was to flush the toilet and to charge money because he was the only toilet in town. I'm like, I can't relate to this. I need a contemporary book like Spawn, the novelization of the movie.
Or just like, dead girls and ghosts and sex and
yeah,
stuff.
or the Good
the
Son.
Greg Miller story.
Exactly.
What is this topic about?
Being a dumb kid, Colin.
I like the books, man, because I was a sucker for that shit.
Yeah.
There was so many of this, like Animorphs. Like, oh my God, there's nothing I want more in my life for an Animorphs book to be written about us, so that each of us can have our own cover where we turn
Sure.
into some dumbass animal.
Sure.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, no. But see,
shit
that's
is-
the thing is like that Animorphs and Goosebumps, I think, exist in the same thing of there's a series of books, you're into them, great. Read some fucking books, kids. And that's how Goosebumps works. It was like those things were crack.
Yeah.
The bookstore in downtown Glen Ellen on Main Street still exists. Couldn't keep them in stock fast enough. People were going through them. You're trading them on the school grounds. You're playing with them. I remember our teacher or whatever, must have been fourth grade or whatever. We'll just say Mrs. Gustafson. I'm not sure if that's who it was. She was so impressed that kids cared this much about these fucking books.
Right.
That they were all trading books talking about
instead of trading cards.
or heroin needles or whatever the hell it was. Yeah. So yeah, the books were one of my dumb things. Danny O'Dwyer, what is something dumb you did as a kid now you look back at? Because my thing is I would talk my kids out of this. If I will be the Amazon they need when they're reading this garbage. No, you don't need to read the novelization of Justice League Part 2. There's comic books, and we're just gonna go see the fucking movie anyway.
I love the idea that the most grounded book you ever read was Spawn.
Yeah.
Like that was the linchpin, and then you're freaking out about the toad and the fucking penny.
It only
farthing.
works in
Mr. Toad
reverse
kind
one.
of sucks, though.
It
I'm
only
gonna be real.
What, Frog and Toad?
Are we talking about Mr. Toad?
No, I'm talking about Frog and Toad. Remember these? These were two. There was a frog and there was a toad, and they had little
Easy to
adventures
mix
or some
up,
shit.
really.
Yeah, I don't even know who Mr. Toad is.
I think it was Mr. Toad.
Is this his
Mr.
wild
Toad.
ride?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's a Disney guy. I don't care about him.
Is it the same
They
series
are
we're talking
different
about?
people. These are different cinematic Frog and Toad
I
universes.
feel like I'm having a pipe dream right now or something.
So then
really
it
talking
only worked
about.
in reverse once, where I saw the movie Hook, and then I was like, this Peter Pan guy seems like he's got some stuff.
Good
let's
novelization.
Let's go read a Peter Pan.
Yeah.
It wasn't an novelization
Yeah.
movie. I went and read the Peter Pan book,
Oh,
one of them.
I saw Three Ninjas Kick Back, and I'm like, you know what? I need to read the novelization of this. I love that thing.
There's
Yeah.
nothing sadder than reading the novelization of a movie based on a book, but not reading the book.
Sure. Oh my
reading
God.
I mean, Space Jam is a perfect example. You could have just read the book.
What is a dumb thing you did as a kid? And will you talk your children out of similar moves? Tim, Colin, this is open to you as well. Colin had to do some really dumb shit, I imagine.
Sorry, I just missed what you just said.
What is
There's
it?
not a
What's-
Space Jam book.
No,
is
it is not.
Okay, God.
What's the dumb shit you
got
did as
real
a kid?
excited.
What's some of your dumb shit kid stuff?
I did so much dumb shit.
And then will
my
you try to talk
entire
your
life.
children out of it? Are these things you just have to let kids
You
do?
need to have their own experience. You need to be a phone. Like you need
I'm going
to
to support them being dumb kids.
Like if I see my kids trying to fucking collect Terminator 2 cards like I did, smack that shit out of their hand. What the fuck is wrong with you?
No, dude, I think it's important. I think that stuff, like as stupid as it is, specifically the trading card thing, I think that there's a camaraderie there.
Sure.
And
Social
you're not
experiences.
buying those things alone.
Yeah.
Like, at least I didn't.
Yeah.
And the people I know didn't. So it's like, it doesn't need to be the Pokemon card craze where everyone's doing it or Goosebumps. As long as you and a section of people that you're surrounding yourself with are into the same thing, I think that's super important
Sure.
for the kids. And they need to figure out what that shit is.
Yeah, don't do the thing I did, which was get really into a set of cards that nobody else was into. Because I got stuck with like a load of Beavis and Butthead cards, but like no one was allowed, like other kids weren't allowed to buy them or something because they were a little bit like risque.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I was stuck with all these like filthy cards. My brother found them and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell mom you have all these dirty cards," and I couldn't get rid of them because no one else wanted them.
Yeah.
and I ended up throwing them out because I was scared he was gonna rat on me.
Like there was a card game, Young Jedi. You might remember this, Colin. It was not the Star Wars collectible card game, but it was the sequel that came out with the prequels. And me and my friends got super into it. And it was like no one else gave a fuck, but it didn't matter to us. We had hella fun with it. Like there was it was a game. It wasn't just trading cards. It was like the card game. And we had so much fun like every weekend playing that shit. But it's like, did we waste an insane amount of money like going to buy booster packs? Yeah, but going to buy booster packs was like a thing we did.
Yeah.
So I'd support my dumbass kids wasting my money one day.
Sure. I guess it just comes down to trying to help them have better taste. Maybe I could have been more like Colin Moriarty if I wasn't reading the novelization of Spawn or the novelization of The Good Son. And I really, here's the scary fucking thing, is that I had to have read more movie novelizations that I'm just not recalling at the current present moment, right? Like this is clearly, I was on this track for some reason where I thought this was a good idea, where I'm reading all these. Oh, here's a good one for you. Why did I do this? Who the fuck cares? I read all the Batman Nightfall comics, and then, I'll go read the book, too. I read all the Death and Return of Superman comics. Yeah, you're going to put out a 350-page book on this thing? Sure, why not?
Well,
Let me in their heads.
See, I don't think that's so crazy. Like, I read the Star Wars Timothy Zahn trilogy, and I want to read the comics, too. Like, it's just different.
But the Star Wars comics sucked back then.
No, those weren't. Those were awesome.
Nah, who knows?
I
Was
know.
Watto
They
in
were
them?
great.
Was
Dark
Watto in
Horse?
them?
Yeah, the Dark Horse ones.
Was Watto in them?
Water was not in them.
There you
Watto
go.
didn't
Not a
exist
problem.
yet.
Well, I know that's a problem. That's a huge problem I have with
not
that
a
universe.
problem. No.
Let me tell you also.
I read the novelization of episode 1.
Yeah?
The Phantom
Better than the
Menace.
movie?
Oh yeah.
No, it was,
Just as bad?
it was, I mean, for me being an 8-year-old kid reading this thing, it was pretty damn cool.
Let me tell you something. This weekend, I'm in Chicago with Poe, his son Jack. Prequels are on TNT or whatever, back to back to back to back. I start up somewhere in the middle of 2, watch through 3. Those movies don't hold up well. And don't get me
Really?
wrong. Don't get me wrong. We all knew they were bad.
Yeah.
But I mean like the CG looks
Well, that's the
fucking
problem.
awful.
Is because that's all those movies were technical showpieces.
Yeah.
And so now they just don't hold up because that's all they were. There was nothing grounding them in anything.
Yeah.
Satisfying at all. I think 3 has a bit more practicality to it. I think 1 and 3 have a bit more. 2 is just fucking CG train wreck.
Right.
But there's like some of the final fight scenes in 3, besides them jumping around looking like freaking monkeys. Some of the CG holds
Also,
up a bit better.
I forget too that they put a lot of chips on Dooku. They're like, people are going to care about this old man. Let's have him fight stuff really slowly.
Yeah.
And like, there you go.
Here's this unnecessary character. Amongst a
seen it-
sea of other unnecessary characters.
Seen The Matrix Reloaded recently?
No.
I
Not
mean, the
since I
stuff
saw it
that's
in
not
the theater.
CG looks still great. But
Oh, really?
A little bit too green maybe nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
A bit heavy on
It's
the
pretty green.
color grading there. Yeah, it's a bit more.
But I mean, it needed it though.
Yeah.
You know, like that was such
Style.
a big point of that movie was the look of it.
I rewatched it recently because loads of it's shot in Oakland.
Oh, really?
Which I didn't
know
know
that
at the
either.
time. Yeah. You can see like you know when they fight the twins and they're all like disappearing
Yeah.
and shit, and then they drive the car before the freeway chase.
Yeah.
That's all downtown. That's telegraphed. And then the freeway chase was done on Alameda. That's where they built that freeway.
Interesting.
But watch the Agent Smith fight.
Saw that in the theater.
Overwatch porn looks
seen it
better
since.
than the Agent Smith fight does.
I believe it. I mean, the asses and dicks I just saw a second ago.
Those very
pretty damn good.
I
glistening
mean, it was
dicks.
just like the two, like the whole, like they were like all over, they were like so
Yeah.
floppy and perfect the way you'd expect.
Why are you flopping them on my face?
Because that's what we were seeing. I'm enacting what we were watching too. If you want to show me your butt, I'll show you the other one too.
No, it's okay. I'm
Okay,
good.
just letting you
No
know.
one needs to see that.
Tim,
Yeah.
what's your topic?
My topic, I mentioned it earlier. It's Kazaa and
Kazaa.
Napster
Okay.
and LimeWire.
Ooh.
And all of these peer-to-peer networks that we used to use. I was thinking about this because I came across a screenshot for LimeWire, and it instantly just gave me all these flashbacks of downloading all types of stuff. And that was, I started with Napster, moved on to Kazaa, eventually LimeWire, eventually FrostWire, then eventually torrents.
Give me
Grew up.
timelines. Give me a timeline here.
Timeline?
Yeah.
Napster 2002.
Okay. Was that still kicking by then? Because I thought Napster got
Yeah.
neutered by then.
Yeah, Napster invented at Northeastern University.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I started using it in 99. By 2002, it was probably dying.
Because what happened is for me when I
They
went
really
to
were all over that thing. It
college and
sucked.
had my first Ethernet port and had a laptop, jumped on, and yeah, Napster had been handicapped by then, I thought, and this would be 2001, fall of 2001.
They were all over
and so
Napster, man.
I jumped to LimeWire
Sucked.
and then ran LimeWire through all freshman year.
I'm pretty sure Napster didn't go dead.
It didn't go dead. No, it wasn't dead. It wasn't as good as like
Yeah,
when we were in high school and I had 56K. It was like,
Dude, it was like the Wild West in 1999. It was insane.
I mean, I think that lasted a little bit longer than.
I feel like in
then
2001 it was still doing that.
I think even
Like,
2002. Like I think it wasn't until like 04
I'm not
that it
arguing
was,
your
like,
facts. I was just like, for me,
handicapped.
LimeWire is all there was. That's the one peer-to-peer thing I did, and it was college freshman year.
Really? Yeah, because for me, I started Napster when I was in middle school. So yeah, maybe it was a little earlier than 2002. So I started in like 6th grade ish. So that would have been 2001, I guess. So then that whole period I used Napster, and then it died, and then we moved on to Kazaa was like the intermediary, and that didn't last too long. But that was when movies got introduced, or not so much movies, but videos got introduced, and then LimeWire, which is the natural extension, and FrostWire after that, and whatever. Then torrents were like, all right, we've perfected this art. But man, I mean that stuff totally defined so much of my life and my tastes to this day. But just looking at the LimeWire image, there was just so many things. I'm like, oh my God, I remember downloading this thing or whatever, and just so much little shit. Specifically using LimeWire to download LimeWire Pro, and like feeling like I just fucking broke the system. And it was like I was the coolest dude downloading my what was it? WinMX?
Yeah, WinMX was the one I used. That's why I was like racking my brain. I was like, what was the last one I used? And it was WinMX, which was like was actually really good.
Yeah, and SoulSeek is another one.
SoulSeek.
SoulSeek was a bit more of the obscure shit. You can find that real high quality, like good shit if you're looking. And everyone, what was the media player that
Winamp?
Winamp,
Yeah.
with the fucking llama demo thing. It's just
really
like,
whips the llama's ass.
yeah, it's like what the fuck? Why? That's so random. But like that stuff is just so tied to a time for me, and it's just you just learned how to use it, and you learned. We all taught ourselves what works and what doesn't. If you see LinkinPark.exe, you're doing it wrong. You're gonna have a bad time. But if you find some MP3s, you're great. You know? And
That's the thing I think about all the time is the fact that it never went wrong for me. That I was so stupid and I never downloaded something that totally infected my computer and crashed my computer and Trojan horsed me or anything like that. Because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, I got there, Ethernet, great. I remember like worrying about if what was it? The difference between, I guess, the cable I had, if this was an Ethernet cable or whatever, if it would plug in an Ethernet jack and all this dumb stuff. I was so to that, like, because it was mystifying to have amazing internet. That just wasn't a thing yet. And then to get there and go, and I remember, like, for me, like, LimeWire, I think of Chatterbox. GTA 3 came out. I was the only person with the PS2. We would sit there, people would come in and out, I'd be playing, and they'd get mad at me when I got out of the car because they just wanted to listen to Chatterbox. So me and a friend, I would leave my computer on 24 hours, 7 days a week, searching on LimeWire for Chatterbox.
Awesome.
And one morning I woke up and had an hour-long track that it finally got uploaded. We got it, and we were so blown away to have it. And then like downloading songs and putting them on, burning them to CDs, and then walking on my way to class and listening and find out it was the clean version. Or there was one
DJ drops all over it.
No.
DJ Spring.
Yeah.
What's the all the things she said, all the things she
Tattoo?
said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got that, and I will whenever
The video?
Whenever,
Oh my God.
Whenever I think about
Oh my
that
God,
song,
I love that we both downloaded the same thing.
whenever
love
I
this.
think about that song, there's a part where like the door closes from
The
a buddy
aim
list.
noise?
Yeah, somebody totally bootlegged off their
That's
aim.
fucking awesome.
Yeah. And like you and I had the exact
Yeah.
same. So like when I never hear that song, but when I do hear that song, I'm always waiting for like
the noises.
And then they
Everyone
open
had
it.
that MP3, well, not necessarily tattoo, but yeah, with all the weird ambient noise from your computer.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that's
it was
funny as hell.
it was the Wild West. I mean, Napster. Napster was an interesting thing. What was that guy's name? Sean Manning, I think was his name. The guy, Sean Fanning or something.
No, it was Sean. Fuck. He was in Social Network. Justin Timberlake.
All I can think is
I don't think it's
Sean
Manning.
Coombs.
I'll look into that. I'll look into
Parker.
it.
Sean Parker.
Yes, you're right. Sean Parker. Yeah.
Is that what it is? I don't think you guys are right.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, look into
Yeah,
that.
it is. I'm pretty sure.
You could be, but I when that was invented and you or whatever, like that was
Sean Fanning.
Yeah.
And there is a Sean Parker.
Sean Parker.
There's Sean Fanning, Sean Parker, John Fanning. Sean Parker looks to be the one who's getting the credit.
So when that came about, it was really remarkable. I had at the time like a 36.6 modem or something like that, and I would download songs or whatever. I remember I think like the Offspring's like Come Out and
Original
Play or something was like the
okay.
first song I ever downloaded.
that's a good one.
Because I was downloading. You were like people. I'm sure people remember this. You can go to websites and download MP3s, like right click and like save as like MP3s, and that's like 96, 97. Like that's how you would kind of do it. And then Napster came around and we did it. I remember when my friend Cody got high speed internet in 2000. He was like, "Dude, you have got to see Napster on this. Like, it's ridiculous." I I had my own phone line in my room, and I would download. And I only had like 1.5 gigs on my computer of space, so I couldn't download like everything. And I still bought a lot of CDs, so I would just download like oddities, like or things like where I was like, oh, I heard this song and I want to just listen to it or whatever. But I remember running to his house and running down running down the street, and he's like, dude, you can download anything you want in like 3 seconds. And I remember going, I already had it, but I remember looking for 311 sound system, which had just come out, and all the tracks are there, and I remember just downloading them all, and it would be like, and the bar would just fill for each of them or whatever. Like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe that cable internet can do this. And then we'd burn them to data CDs or whatever, and then distribute them or whatever. But then I moved on to, I didn't really use SoulSeek or LimeWire. I moved on to WinMX, and I really stopped using this stuff in like 2002. I think a lot of colleges, you guys probably had the same thing. There was a thing called DC Plus. That was a peer-to-peer network that was usable. I don't really know much about it, but most usable over T1 lines. So when I was at Northeastern or whatever, it would basically connect everyone's computers and people would share their shit that way. It couldn't be used outside of that network, but the speeds were ridiculous. So that's when people were downloading like Seinfeld episodes and movies and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, I wasn't really into any of that kind of stuff, like doing that kind of stuff. So I would just download some music here and there in like 2003 or so. But then like my buddies had CDs, and I would just rip their CDs or whatever and do all that kind of stuff. And then by like 2004 or so, I was just I kind of was out, just like, I don't need to do this anymore. And like that. And then not too long after that, like YouTube was like, you could just go listen to anything you wanted on YouTube as long as you had you're on your computer or something like that. And I had my iPod, and I'd buy music or whatever. And I kind of felt like a little sketchy about it. Like right. When I understood in 10th grade when I was using Napster, I'm like, I'm broke. I don't really know what the fuck I'm even doing. This has no like ramifications. It was actually when Napster was taken down and like attacked, where I'm like, yeah, I kind of understand where these people are coming from. Like this is kind of fucked up. And with WinMX or whatever, and the same thing. Like by the time I had like income, I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like this is. Not that I was buying music left and right. I wasn't. I was buying CDs still, like a few a year, and then just ripping them on my computer and then listening to YouTube. Yeah. And then 2007, 2008, then I was using Pandora, and now I'm on Spotify. So I'm more comfortable paying for this kind of stuff. And it seems like torrents have taken that over. I don't have any experience with that world at all. Like going to the Pirate Bay or whatever the fuck people go do.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to even do it. So it's like I've been out of that game like for 13 years now.
But like at that time, you couldn't divorce yourself from it, whereas you kind of can now. Like back then, your local record store had like a poster up saying like, "Don't download songs, come in here and do it." Like even as part of like Kazaa, LimeWire, there was like all those anti-Metallica SWF files really and stuff, right? Like saying like, "Fuck you, Lars Ulrich," and like all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but like he was like, that was the thing, was like Lars Ulrich was right though. Like maybe not the way he was saying it, but I was just like, I kind of understand the message. Like these guys make their music and they want to sell it. The ironic thing is that a lot of these bands don't really make money on music. They make it on touring, which is why I think that Spotify and merch, which is why I think Spotify is nice, and I would pay way more for Spotify if they'd allow it. I would pay $50 a month for Spotify. I think it's totally worth it.
And at the time, I thought that he was being like super contrarian to being like, "Oh, you made your money already." And actually, like when I look back at it now, I'm like, "Oh, actually, yeah, you had made your money, and you were probably doing this for everyone else who was coming down the road, like all the other bands that weren't maybe gonna get that little."
Like Taylor Swift with Spotify, right? Like where she makes the stand, and then Apple Music the same way. Like she doesn't need the money, but she can make the stand.
It's like the only album I own on Apple that I bought. Yeah, is her album, because I was like, I'm not going to get it that way.
Exactly. So. Yeah. That's the crazy thing too of thinking about. I remember, and I haven't thought this through in a while, but I think I remember when I was in freshman year using LimeWire, downloading that stuff, and that being the time that iTunes got announced, and they started talking about that's what they're going to do, and they're going to charge for music, this, that, and the other, and being like. And my thought was, no way. Like I'm gonna buy, if I'm paying for music, I'm gonna get the CD, and that's what happened. Is freshman year ended, and I moved out into housing, and for some reason I didn't care, I guess, that much about LimeWiring anymore, and I'd go out and buy CDs and borrow other people's CDs and burn what I wanted off.
Well, there's a big educational shift there. I think that everybody that grew up using Napster and all these other things, when it got to that jump off point where those things were all but dead, because if there's not people uploading things, there's nothing to download. So once it made that shift to torrents, which was probably around 2005, 4 or 5, I would say, is when it like really started.
Because Half-Life 2 came out in 4, and that was huge. Yeah, that was like the torrent.
Exactly. And there's a whole bunch of LimeWire and FrostWire and SoulSeek and all this stuff. They still existed. They still to this day exist, or at least SoulSeek does. But the torrent thing, if you knew how to torrent when I was in high school and this happened, you were like the fucking gone.
Right.
Like you had everything. And there was this one dude, Simon, that knew how to do it. And it was so shady, but he would download people's CDs, burn the CDs like before they were out. Like I remember he had Collision Course, the Linkin Park Jay-Z crossover,
Yeah.
before anyone. And he sold
Oh, he sold
just
copies
blank
of it?
CDs, and it's just like, all right, that's shady and whatever. But it's like that was a little high school hustle, right? So like whatever. But once I learned how to torrent, started teaching my friends and stuff, then it all of a sudden became like a word of mouth thing where everyone else was like, oh, cool, like this is how you do it. Then it's like it separates you from everybody else,
Right.
And you knew how to do this stuff.
And all it was like port forwarding. That's all you had to do. It was just like open up a couple of
Which,
ports.
but back then, that's
I know.
like, what the fuck? Like, I remember first trying to get an emulator running, and it's just like, I downloaded the Super Mario RPG ROM, and I'm like, I haven't played this game in years. I owned it, but I couldn't find the card, and I'm like, whatever. Download it, and I'm double clicking on it, and nothing's happening. I'm like, what the fuck? This PC computer bullshit. Like, what the hell?
Drivers, had to update your drivers probably.
But then eventually I realized, I need an emulator. I need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
open
yeah.
the emulator, then open the ROM, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, I buy CDs to this day. Always have. I'm a big fan of supporting artists and stuff. And I think that as
What,
seen
you buy
by
CDs? Or
Still
buy
buys
CDs,
physical
dude.
media.
You
I
really?
buy CDs.
You're the
I buy
guy?
CDs, rip CDs. Like I am all about that shit. But it's like I am a firm believer in it. Us using Patreon, I think, is practicing what I preach on this. Where it's like I believe that content like this should be put out for free. Some things can be premium, whatever. But it's like overall, I think that it benefits everybody to get the art. Music. Let's just talk about the music and not us. Get the music out there, and it's like that's going to benefit you. If it's good, if there's a fan base out there, you'll make the money.
I think
Like,
if you can buy it, you should. But I have no problem with people like you're saying, like when you were younger, it's like I haven't got a dime to my name, like I'm gonna do this. And then like there are plenty of people who are in college who don't have any money or out of work and don't have money. Like I don't like fine. Like if you want to download games, you want to download music.
Really?
you
For
want-
games?
Yeah, kind of. I don't like. I think it's easy to take the moral high ground when you're in the situation where you can.
We have dispensable income. We're getting codes
to that
yeah.
level. And I think like, I don't mind. Like in a way, I kind of hope that we live in a world where the price of that is baked in. Like that's all, like almost like a social tax or something that like, you know, if 10 or 5% of the people who would have bought this aren't because they can't afford to, then charge the rest of us a little bit more. I don't know. Like I have no problem with people doing that.
Yeah, it reminds me. I mean, it's a weird. So there's this show called The Rubin Report. That's like
Yes.
this thing on YouTube. It's a pretty interesting show.
It's on Patreon as well, I think.
Oh yeah. I actually heard that on the last episode I was watching. I was watching this episode with this guy that wrote this book called the Moral Case or something for fossil fuels.
Right.
And his basic thing is that, you know, not that I agree with his premise or whatever or anything, you know, a lot of what he was saying, although it was interesting and some of it I agree with, which was the idea of like these guys, these environmentalists, even if the science says what it says, stay on their moral high ground and are like, well, we got to get rid of oil and we got to get rid of all these things. And his whole argument is like, but they don't understand the severe ramifications of that when you don't have to worry about it. But the person you know, you're going to ruin the economies of all these countries that are trying to come up, whatever. It reminds me of the same thing where, to what you're saying, not that I necessarily agree with you, but you're saying a similar thing, which is like, we get games for free or we have lots of disposable income or whatever amongst us. And so we can buy everything. But when we were 14, we couldn't do that. And so it's easy for us, like you were saying, to stand on this moral high ground without thinking of the ramifications of everyone around you or how those things might affect it. That said, like, Dreamcast and PS1 were very easy to pirate games on, like, and a lot of us did it as a kid. I mean, like, I've talked about it in the past, like,
Dude, I grew up playing Amiga games. Like the console that you never had to buy a game for, and the reason why there wasn't another Amiga. Like Commodore disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar thing. It
yeah,
was
it's one of those situations like where we've all like, you gotta practice what you preach now. And that's that case I was saying, was like by the time I was like 19 or 20, and I'm like, I have a little bit of money, this doesn't seem right. You know, like that was like my whole thing. I'm like, it doesn't strike me as right, but I don't begrudge necessarily the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old that isn't going to buy the game anyway, you know, or isn't going to buy the music anyway. They have no money, but maybe it gets them interested in it. I was racking my brain trying to figure out like, what is a band that I got into because of that, and I'm like, I actually don't know. Like, I can't think of one that I like really love. Because,
Really?
Yeah, like, well, because I bought my 311 records, I bought my Rage records, I bought my Ben Folds 5 records, my Bare Naked Ladies records.
Right.
You know, I bought all those Dredge later on and all like. So I
Dredge is a
Zebrahead
band I
might be or
never
something.
would have come across if it wasn't for Kazan LimeWire. And like Tool's another one.
Yeah,
like in a
Tool.
weird way,
Yeah.
like
We're
all those
very anti
videos.
that kind of stuff too.
Man, that's crazy because I think that the few years difference we have, like I had some CDs and stuff, but it was like Britney Spears, you know what I mean? It was things that were just like the mainstream pop stuff, like me being in 4th grade or whatever. But like growing up from 6th grade on, in 6th grade, middle school, that's really when you're starting to decide what music you like,
Yeah.
not just what music is being given to you, whether it's like the classic rock that your parents listen to or the pop that is literally being delivered to Radio Disney. I think that having Napster and being able to kind of find your stuff, like to this day, every single artist I listen to, I would say that I like really truly believe in came from that.
That's so funny because I can't, like, the only thing I can think of is in that era, 99, 2000, 2001, when I'd go see a band or a band, like I'd see 311 a lot, so a band would open for them, like Zebrahead or even Incubus, before they were big when Science was out. I did download those. You know, Science was a record, like Science is an amazing Incubus record, and yeah, like I discovered it, but then you try to go back and buy it or support those guys. I went and saw Zebrahead live. I went and saw Incubus live. So you try to like, but I wasn't trying to pay it forward in any respect. So it may have painted like my opinion of certain bands or certain things, or whatever. But I never was to the point where I never downloaded a movie or anything like that because I don't think I even had the bandwidth to do those kinds of things. And then I remember long after I was like, and then it started getting shady with like, are you getting viruses and all this, and I was scared of that. And then in the mid 2000s, telecoms and ISPs started going after people, and that was when I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm ever like I can't believe anyone does this shit," because people are getting sued by the Motion Picture Association and the Music Association and getting letters
I had a friend
from
of a friend
Comcast
who like went down, and it's funny because what had happened is I had gotten into Smallville late because I was going to college or whatever, and so a friend of mine gave me burned DVDs or whatever that I could put into the computer and watch there. And I liked it so much that I stopped and went and bought the DVDs. But the guy who gave him those turned out to be like one of the biggest pirators in Missouri or whatever, and like went to federal everything in that level. But like I never did a movie. I've never pirated a game. Like, I mean, Pose brought games over back in the day and plugged in the floppies or whatever for us to play. But I never went out of my way to pirate a game. And so like, I don't know if like talking about like for the kid who can't do that or whatever, I'm not trying to be like bootstraps America kind of thing or whatever, but it's like that kind of made me learn the system. Now, granted, we talk about, if you can, don't trade it in games, right? Buy new, I was trading stuff in. That's how I kept my cycle going as a kid or a teen, like that I wanted to play other stuff. So I'm playing stuff as fast as I can to trade it in.
Right, but the system allows for that. What I've said before is that I would never cast a personal judgment of someone pirating even, our exclusive podcast or something, if that's what you like. It's like, it is what it is. Just know that you're stealing. Like if you're down, like if you're torrenting or using these peer-to-peers back in the day, like you were stealing. Like we can justify it however we want. We all did it, but it doesn't change what the facts on the ground were, which is that you were stealing that music. Like you didn't pay that music. You have no legal right to have that music. But you have to kind of segment that and sever it from the reality of the 12-year-old or all this kind of stuff. And whether you can justify it or find some moral high ground or whatever in there, I don't know. But I don't. It's not really. It seems like a dead issue to me because what really nullified it, like I said, was ultimately Pandora and then especially Spotify. But actually, YouTube was really what nullified it for me in college, where I'm like, people were just uploading everything there, like every album,
music and all that.
Yeah, and I was just like, fine, that's fine. Like I have my iPod.
That's illegal too, though.
Right, exactly.
Or it was illegal then.
No, exactly. No, it still is. I mean, there's still a bunch.
The YouTube unofficial stuff is illegal. If you're listening to that, it's illegal.
We live in a post-evil world now. That stuff is at least monetized for those people, even if it's barely.
Right, exactly. And they have whatever the I can't think of it. The
content,
the music video. Like kind of sub thing,
Vivo,
and all that kind of stuff. So they've tried to protect their artists and stuff like that. But I've often had that conundrum where I'm like, it's a victimless crime, but is it a victimless crime?
It's the difference between picking up something that fell off the back of a truck and taking something out of a park truck. It's like if you had to go look for it, then that's what was happening.
That's exactly right. And so I like that there's solutions that Apple's ingenuity for some started with or renewed ingenuity started with iMac for some and with iPod for some, but I think it started with iTunes and because iPod came out first, and I when iTunes hit, I'm like, yeah, you guys understand, and then they changed the marketplace forever, and that's still the way the market exists to this day, which I think is remarkable. And once they make it easier, and so it's all about ease, and then extracting money in ways that you don't think about it. I was just looking at my bank statement today, and it's like $8.99 Showtime, and I'm like, I have no idea where the fuck I even signed up for Showtime, but all right, and I'm too lazy to figure out where the hell I go to even cancel it. So I guess you're gonna just extract so I can watch fucking The Circus every week. You know what I mean?
Amazon,
so it's like,
right?
Yeah, probably. But and so Spotify's the same way. But I've often said that I think that Spotify is worth more, and I think they're eventually going to have to charge more as well.
And they also need to give their artists a lot more money than they are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would gladly, if there was some sort of premium thing, I don't even know what it would look like because there's really just a premium account that you pay $10 or whatever it is for. If they were like, you have $50 a month and then you get all of this shit, I'd be like, that's fine. Is the money going to go towards I'm going to pay literally 5 times more, but I use Spotify so much that, and I think it's such a fantastic service.
I can't believe it's still as cheap as
I'm like blown away by it. Like I can't believe when I started using it. I started using it very early and started paying for it very early when around the time it came out, because I was like, this can't possibly exist forever. Like I'm like, this is I got to get in on this. I'll tell stories about how amazing this was. And it's years later, it's still here. But it seems like a very predatory thing. So they haven't found. It seems like Apple and iTunes with Amazon and Google Play and all that kind of stuff, they have the perfect marketplace to kind of nullify any like any kind of negativeness or negativity about things or whatever. Whereas I think Spotify's too easy and too cheap. So that's what gets people in. And then Pandora's fighting the good fight too. I think Pandora's great for discovery. I don't use it anymore, but it was a great discovery tool. That's how I found a lot of bands, in my more recent years.
If you didn't know, this has been the Game Over Greggy Show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can get every episode early, along with a bunch of exclusives, perks, and goodies, and things like that. And you can support Danny O'Dwyer at patreon.com/Danny O'Dwyer.
Thanks, Greg.
No problem, buddy. If you don't want to wait for our show, or if you do want to wait for our show, you don't have any bucks to toss, you can go to kindafunny.com, where we post it topic by topic, day by day, until the entire thing goes up as one big MP3 and video. Danny, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure.
It was a real fucking roller coaster right
That's
there.
what we do here. Go watch all the Overwatch porn, and until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
One shot, one kill.
Come shut.